Hey everybody, welcome to SkepTalk. I'm your host Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by Shannon Q. And there's a weird sound, and now it's gone. Hey Shannon, how are you doing?
Hi. I'm hoping I'm not the weird sound. I might be.
I don't know.
Might be more weird sounds since I'm here.
I was on with your man yesterday, and I
Oh,
was extremely tired. I was very, very jet lagged.
okay.
And today, I woke up at 4 a.m. Haven't been napping or anything. I've just been running around like a headless chicken. Ate a massive lunch, and I'm loaded up on caffeine. And I say we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see if I'm more awake, less awake.
Okay.
Will I talk to one call for over an hour? Will I talk to 15 calls within 1 hour? We'll see what happens. What kind of calls do you want to take tonight, Shannon?
Ooh, I always like calls about morality. Those are some of my favorites.
Mhm.
I do love arguing with a grown man about my bodily autonomy. I enjoy that as well.
Always fun.
Oh
Always
yeah.
fun.
And the soul is always a good one for me. I love people trying to prove the soul. So those are my three favorite subjects. I'm assuming yours is the evolution science-based stuff or
Evolution,
indeed. Yeah, okay.
evolution, transphobes,
Oh,
and
yes.
is the God of the Bible a good guy? Are those that's what I'm going for today. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Morality, I think, is where we're meeting in the middle on that one.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty
Hmm.
tight. Uh, we got a great show for everybody tonight. We already have calls filling in. Like we have 6 people
Yeah.
on the line right now. One of them's going through the screening room. 5 more people in the host queue or in the calling queue, waiting to get up to the host room so we can start talking to them. Um, uh, Other exciting news. Now that I'm finally back in town, I had time to go check my PO box, and something wonderful came. Did you know that you know about the whole situation where somebody made a movie about me, right?
I did. Yeah, I watched your
Yeah.
video about it. That was
Uh,
wild. That
I'm so sorry
was
you watched the video, but like yeah, so
I
that
watched your
happened.
video, so you're right. You should be
Good.
sorry, but
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
it was
Bo
crazy.
Davidson, the lead actor in that film, the guy who played the renegade scientist Trey
Hmm.
Crawford, said on camera that that character was based on me,
Hmm.
and was talking about how I'm this evil atheist guy and all these things. And he said all this in an interview that he was doing with Stephen Meyer of all fucking people. And so I posted a clip of that to my channel. Some people went and bugged him and was like, "Hey, you should go talk to Forrest. He's really nice." And he said a bunch of horrible, hateful shit about how all my
Oh,
fans are the Valkites that are all in this cult that are just following me blindly, and how very, very funny shit about how Donald James Parker, the director, lives
mhm.
rent free in all of our heads, as if we had made a movie about him. And at one point, he
Okay.
said that all of my fans drink Valkalized bathwater, which maybe he meant Valkaized. I don't know, or Valkais, or who knows what he meant to say. But it took the space of me. By the time I had stopped laughing at that sentence, I had already made these. You can get your Valkalized bathwater bottles now, and I just got back and checked my PO box and had mine in tow. So if you want your very own Valkalized bathwater bottle, they're available right now at valkaimerch.com. Get yours today and become, as Bo calls you, a disciple of the vilest degree as you continue to worship me. My vilest degree was probably my first master's, but like, hey, that's whatever, you know. Um, Pick up your Valkalized bathwater bottle today, and or don't. I'm not a cop. Um, we've got calls still pouring in. If you want to be part of this show and talk to us about morality, about science, about God, about souls, about whether or not Shannon should be able to decide what to do with her own body, or if you want to talk more importantly to me about whether or not Shannon should be able to decide what she should do with her own body, number
Mm.
on the bottom of the screen there, 720-619-2288. Pick up the phone, or if you're outside of the U.S., call in using the web link in the description. Just make sure that when we take your call that you turn on your phone, because otherwise we can't hear you. And we would love to talk to you about all of these things. Also, Shannon is up there in the land of the slightly less free, but I do know that you are a politically minded person.
Hmm.
And so if we have MAGA callers or Trump supporter callers or whatever, I feel like you and I would get along on those calls as well.
I think we'll
that would
probably
a
be
lot of
pretty
fun.
closely aligned when it comes to that
So
brand of
if
people.
you're one of those folks out there that is still supporting a senile billionaire pedophile fascist and thinks that America needs to be made great again, whatever the fuck that means, and that the way to do that is to support ICE, fascist Gestapo pieces of shit marching through our streets, rounding up people based on their skin color and accents, this is also a great show for you to call into 720-619-2288 if you want to talk about science, religion, or politics with two atheist, leftist, scientist weirdos, woke, liberal beta cucks. Pick up that phone, 720-619-2288, and let's talk about some stuff. It'll be great. It'll be a great show. In the meantime, we're going to go and jump into our first call. Like I said, we already have a bunch of people on the line, but they're making it slowly through that screening room. So stay on the line, and Lux will be screening your calls for a little while. And if you're out there and you want to talk to us, go ahead and call in. We're going to take our first call now, though. Are you ready to jump in?
I was born ready. Let's go.
Sweet chicken. Let's talk to Ryan, calling in all the way from the Netherlands, who wants to talk about atheism and theism and science and all sorts of stuff. Ryan, you were on the line with Forrest and Shannon. How you doing today? Ryan, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. Please tap your phone and make sure it's awake. If your screen is turned off, it's likely that we won't be able to hear you. It's a weird quirk with the web caller. We don't know why it happens. But we want to talk to you.
Yep.
There you are. Hello.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
What did you want to talk about?
So, I want to talk about theism, but I'm a little bit less conventional. I don't believe in a God like a Christian God or Muslim or anything like that. So I actually think that we have to talk about frameworks instead of something that is omnipotent, omniscient, or conscious.
Okay. What do you mean?
I'm not arguing for a traditional God. So I said they don't need to be omnipotent, omniscient, or conscious. My argument is more like, yeah?
I was just going to say, why don't you start with the definition of God to you then? So that we know what we're talking about. Yeah. So when you're talking about God, what are you talking about? Define it for me.
So when I think of a God, it's very simple. You have something that creates something. That creation emerges into a new reality, and that can evolve into itself. And that is basically what a God is to me. It's like something you cannot really prove, but there is evidence for it. And it's like an ongoing chain.
So are you just saying a God is like a first mover, like a prime mover? So what initiated like tangible reality?
I don't think it needs to be a prime mover. I think we can also look at humans, because if we look to humans and AI, we are kind of doing the same. Like, I would argue that there was a reality before our reality, before our universe. It got into existence somehow, and we came out of that. Now we made a digital realm. We created the internet. We created an AI. And the only difference between that is we are known to the AI and we don't know our creator. So,
okay, I have another. I have more questions because I still don't feel like I have a good definition or that I fully understand your definition. So your definition of God is what created everything? Is that it? That's the only aspect of this God? Is that it created something?
Well, it has to be more superior than the thing that it creates, and it needs to make an entire framework.
Can you quantify that for me? So what does more superior mean to you? Does that mean
it means
more intelligent?
It will be better, and it will be better in anything than that we can achieve. It's like, yeah.
So better than anything that we can achieve is not something that's specifically quantifiable. So do you have specific aspects of this God? So this God, like if you're thinking of this God, it sounds to me like the only aspect is like something had to initiate creation. And it must be this, and because it initiated creation, it needs to be smarter than us or have powers we don't
Yeah,
have.
yeah. So what I think is something is a god when it can create a new reality, and that reality can function on its own with or without God intervention. And when the being or whatever it might be, maybe it's not a life form, we don't know, if that exists above the new reality, like the new framework, as I call it, you basically get a sub framework, as I call it. It's like how I describe with our reality and the internet.
Mhm.
We basically invented the internet. If we take it a step further and we give autonomy to our AI, make them allowed to make their own choices, make them feel and everything, and they start developing themselves and they start creating their own universe, but they cannot interact with ours, that is for me a definition of a god, because we would be superior to them. We would be not how you say it,
So in your
interactable with them, but we
definition,
created them.
so in order to be a god, you have to create like sentience, consciousness.
Yeah, but I think that sentience and conscious is a big thing of it, but
Hmm.
I do not think that is like required. It's like
So,
you have a
okay.
universe, there's
Hmm.
living things or not living things in there. Something in that universe creates something new, which leads to a new reality.
So
That
how does something
becomes a
create
new life.
something new if it doesn't have consciousness, if it's not capable of intellectual assent? How could it create something new? So your definition, you're losing me a little bit. So you're saying it created something and that the thing that it created doesn't have access to it at all and can also create its own conscious beings and like
Yes,
conscious beings all the way down. So how do you account for the fact that the universe that we inhabit um, didn't have consciousness, at least as far as we know, for like billions of years? So if the point of this being is to create consciousness that will then create additional consciousness, why wouldn't whatever this God is have started with the conditions that would bring forth consciousness? Why did it take billions of years before consciousness could have could be instantiated?
because I don't think that there has to be intent. Um,
There's no
Basically,
intent.
how I view, yeah, so basically, if we go to the beginning of our universe, what I
Hmm.
think is that there is something that we call nothing. If it's absolute or not, that's for debate. We don't know that in the science.
Okay.
So let's assume there's nothing, but
Hmm.
it's not absolute. So there is something, we just don't know it. Um, Something before this universe happens, which creates our universe. It can be an accident. It doesn't have to be intentional. It doesn't have to be some being saying, "Oh, I'm going to create a new reality." It can also be an accident. In that sense, something creates, and then even if it's not the intention, you go from non-living matter to life. The life
Hmm.
becomes intelligent. The intelligence becomes a new creator, like we humans, we create things. The creators make a new framework, like a new reality, a new universe, or whatever the new concept is. And that
Hmm.
framework becomes new intelligence, like we are doing with AI. And then that new
So,
intelligence, like AI, could create a new non-living matter or life that keeps on going, basically. And I think
so
that what
if
creates
we
us is a
haven't,
God.
if we hadn't developed AI, would your entire like framework fall apart? And when we had developed
No,
AI, I wouldn't say that AI is conscious, and it may never be conscious
yeah.
in the same way that we mean when we're talking about it. So, does that undermine the entirety of your framework?
So no, that is not dependent with my framework or
Why
my
not?
belief, the, because we don't know if what created us is more intelligent than us or more conscious than us. And we also still don't know where this is going. Like, we are still living, we are evolving. We don't know if we can make AI to a point where it
That it's
becomes
conscious.
like intelligence like us or conscious. The thing is,
Okay.
I am not completely in favor of the how they call it, like you have the recurring cycle endlessly. I don't think there has to be a first one, but I also don't think it has to end. So basically, it could end with us, but maybe we keep it going, and I think time will tell about it.
So your framework is a hypothetical projection then, because you're saying that it could act. I'm going to summarize my understanding of what you said, which is something, we don't know what it is, could have initiated creation. However, that's up for debate because everything could have been cyclical and eternal. And also in this framework, the whole point of it is to develop other conscious beings that they can then create their own realities that contain conscious beings, and then that cycle keeps going. However, one, if it is internal, which you allow for, then there is no initiation, there is no external force that created it, accidental or intentional, and we have not created consciousness on a plane of reality that isn't able to access us. So it seems as though your theory doesn't hold together even within its own framework.
Well, I got like 8 axioms, and if I'm allowed to explain them shortly, I think you have a better view of what I mean, because I think it's a language thing that makes me get my point across wrong. Because yes, what you are saying is kind of what I'm leaning towards, but it's not the same thing. My axioms are actually, I thought very long about it, and I think each point is very logical, and it is actually not something that can be debunked. And those 8 axioms, that is the core of what I call recursive theism.
Okay, why don't you quickly just lay out the axioms? Let's hear the
Okay.
8 axioms so that we can make sure we're giving you a fair hearing.
So axiom 1, existence permits emergence, which means you have non-life to life, life to intelligence, intelligence to a framework creation. We see that in our lives. Like, we started from non-living materials, we gone to one cellular organisms, we became intelligence, end up as humans. Now we are trying at least to create a new framework, which is the digital realm where the AI operates.
Okay, one sec. Let's take it one by one. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So that you're saying that existence entails what? That you become intelligent? Because what about rocks and dirt? What about plants? You wouldn't say that they have any sort of consciousness or intelligence, but yet they exist in this reality. So how does that comport?
Yeah, so the axiom is actually existence permits emergence. It doesn't mean it always has to.
So existence sometimes can result in intelligence. Not always.
Yes.
Not even that, and rarely also, I would argue. Because most of the matter we're a tiny speck of the matter in the universe. So that's just like saying it's also to me just like saying there are some conscious beings. Those are the same statement to me. Because you can't just say existence entails it, because I don't think that you would argue that the lion's share of things that exist in the universe don't entail that.
Yeah, so if I really have to say it differently, reality allows a genuine new form of complexity to arise from a simpler state. Meaning, yes, eventually you always start with something that is not living,
Mhm.
but at some point you will get life. It's like, I don't really recall which scientific rule it was, but I read somewhere that if there is something possible of happening, in the end, if time is allowed and it's long enough, it is destined to happen at some point.
I mean, that's like infinite monkeys, infinite typewriters. Like, and that's basically saying, like, if you have an
Yeah.
infinite amount of realities, then every outcome will happen. And if you have an infinite amount of realities, one of those outcomes would be that there isn't any life, if that's the argument that you're looking for philosophically.
Yeah, so basically you start with nothing, and then as time goes on, sometimes it takes billions of years, maybe slower,
That's
maybe
not-
longer, but at some point, the life will come at some point.
No, that's not necessarily true, because the conditions have to be thus that it's conducive to life forming.
I think, yeah, like it doesn't make any sense to say that life will always form, because like Shannon is right. We're talking about these conditions. It doesn't make sense to say that everywhere in the universe it is possible for life to form given enough time. I'm also curious to know, like, and maybe you already said this and I just missed it, but like, you likened God to AI, and you said that, like, you know, the difference between us and a god, you know, we made AI, but AI knows us and we don't know our creator. It like, did I hear that right?
Yeah, so that is just the observation that I have from what we know now, because we don't know if God exists, but AI knows we exist.
In a hypothetical situation, then, if we were to allow, because AI at this moment is developing itself, like AI is now running itself, developing itself, improving itself. If we were to just fuck off and leave this AI alone for a minute and let it develop itself for a long time, to the point where it forgot we existed and was continued to grow, would we be right to call ourselves God in this situation? Because AI has now developed its own world, its own universe, its own mind, its own intelligence, and it then doesn't know its creator. Would that make us the same as your God?
I think that is actually a good way of looking at a God, because I think God is just a maker of a framework. And that's why I think we have a God.
Okay. So then, if that's what we're looking at here, then we can't just rely on anything could technically happen. We would have to set it up as the things that have happened in this universe are at least at some level causal and dependent upon whatever. That AI can code itself and can create itself and can perfect itself, but it needed us to start it out and code it. And then we can trace that back to that starting point somehow or another. Is there something in this universe, when we talk about life, gravity, whatever, laws of nature, whatever it is, that we can trace back and say, this is a fundamental thing that must have been started by somebody? And if we say the Big Bang, then I'm going to have a lot of questions.
Well, to be fair, I think that the statement that you make is a little bit unfair, because I don't think you have to be able to trace it back. I think if logic can dictate and prove logically that there is a chance, that it would be logic to follow up on it. And the fact that we didn't found the reason yet, or the causal yet, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that, like, when we talk about, just to continue with the comparison, I'm just trying to put it in a term that I can understand here. If we were to look at AI now, as it continues to develop itself, we could still find very human markers in that AI, and we can still trace it back and say, okay, now we know there is a certain level of complexity here that it is impossible for this thing to have started up on its lonesome. And therefore, for all accounts, it had to have been made by some intelligent agent. When we look at the universe, there are all sorts of things that are self-functioning, that are self-working, that do not need any intelligent agent, as best as we can tell. And that's similar in this comparison to what AI is doing right now. The AI is writing itself. The universe at this moment, when we talk about life and we talk about all these in evolution and gravity, these are things that are self-working within the universe. There should be something that we can trace back to the universe and say, okay, now we get to this level of complexity at such an early stage that doesn't appear to be self-functioning. This doesn't appear to be self-working at this point. There had to have been something else that input some direction here. And I don't see anything like that. And so I don't think that the comparison to AI is therefore valid. It sounds like we're comparing two things that are kind of similar, but not actually really comparable. And the analogy that you're drawing here doesn't really work. And therefore, there's no reason for me to think that the universe has any kind of intelligent design. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think you have a false, how you say it? I think you have a wrong way of looking at the situation, because you said if we fuck off for a minute and we let them do their thing and create their own things, at least that's how I heard it. If we really disappear, how does the AI be able to trace back that they were created to humans? I think if you take us fully out of the equations, like we just made the AI, we let them go, we don't interact with them, and we just let them do their thing, and we never show up on their radar. But we were there, you know, we made AI, but we just don't show up. I think that is the same thing as that this universe might be.
They're not teaching themselves in a vacuum, though. They're accessing the things that we created and the things that we do to teach themselves, and they know that they're doing that. Right? So I deal with AI on a daily basis, and that's how it learns. It learns by you feeding it things.
Right? But like to play to the point here, like even if AI were to somehow develop to a point where it no longer needs to be fed and it does not know that humans ever existed or that it was ever programmed, the point that I'm making here is that even in that state, we could find a certain point where we go back far enough where we can say, hey, there is at such an early state of this thing's existence, there is such a level of complexity, even if it doesn't know what humans are, it doesn't know that it was programmed, whatever, it can't account for this. And it must say, okay, there's something here, this massive question mark that seems to indicate some level of external input. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it would somehow figure out that humans exist. I'm just saying it would somehow be able to figure out that something participated in its creation and in its genesis. And we don't see that kind of thing in the universe. We don't have a point where we're like, hey, at such an early stage in the universe, this doesn't seem to be possible. We have some place where we say we don't know, but it just doesn't seem to compare the same way. And if that doesn't work for you, if you don't vibe with what I'm saying, then I'm happy to offer a slightly different question, which is it kind of the same, but just, you know, twisted, which is how if we were to draw this comparison, we were to say that, you know, AI could get sufficiently complex that it no longer understands that we exist and also would not be able to find out. And that's like the universe, that we are so advanced that God could have just fucked off and we have no way of knowing whatever like that. How do you then make the claim that this thing exists? How do you tell the difference between a God that is imperceptible, untraceable, unidentifiable, and a God that isn't real?
Yeah, okay, I get what you mean, but it's like I don't think that the creation has to find a trace to the creators. However, I do think if we quickly go over the other axioms, that you will see what I mean with why it's logical.
I'm happy to go over another axiom, but like yeah, I agree that it doesn't have to be able to be traced back to a creator. What I'm saying is that it does have to be able to be traced back for a creator in order to justify the claim that a creator exists. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't see the
difference.
What I'm trying to ask you from two different directions here is just that, like, there is no functional difference from our perspective today. There is no difference between a creator that we cannot can't ascertain any information about and a creator that isn't real. There's no difference to us. So if you want to go over another axiom and you think it's going to elucidate this, I'm okay to hear it. But as of right now, I'm not vibing with what you're saying.
Okay, let's do this. I will just put the 8 axioms in one sentence. I'll quickly tell what it is, and then you guys can choose which one you want to debate. So we had axiom 1, existence permits emergence. Axiom 2, godhood is relational, not absolute. Axiom 3, intention is not required. The axiom 4, a higher framework can generate a lower framework. Axiom 5, godhood can emerge. Axiom 6, the chain of creators may be finite or infinite. Axiom 7, the ultimate foundation is unknown. And I think axiom 8, relative transcendence.
So at least one, I think I heard you talk about God in 2 of them, but I might have misheard you. But at least one of those, you made a definitive claim about what God is in order to justify that God exists. And in another one, you just accepted that there is the possibility of an infinite regression of God who created God, who created God, who created God, and that's just okay with you. And if that's the case, then I have no reason to not say the universe can create itself because the universe created itself and have an infinite regression there without the need of an intelligence, and it makes just as much sense. So it sounds like you are begging the question here.
So there are 3 axioms that invoke the God. Axiom 2 was godhood is relational, not absolute.
Right.
Then
and that only makes sense if this God exists in the first place to have these qualities. And so you're justifying believing in this God by declaring what this God must be.
But even if we are the first generation, even if we are the prime movers, it could still hold when AI is fully developed and starts developing their own universe, just like how we are doing it. There's nothing in logic that prevents AI from advancing to the point where we are, because...
One sec, Ryan, that's because that's predicated on a future hypothetical, right? So you just argued that maybe we're the original gods, which doesn't explain our existence or the existence of the universe, but just hypothetically, because we created AI, if AI becomes autonomous and functions on its own, that would make us their God, is all you're saying.
Well, axiom 1 would allow that because existence permits emergence. So existence, we exist. We can take that for granted, that existence is a real thing. So that permits emergence. It doesn't mean...
But that's just like the puddle argument, though, right? Like when you're... It's essentially saying this is the state of affairs that we exist within, right? Therefore...
Yeah. But I think
these things must be true about it, but you haven't made any support of that. Like our existence, we know we have one sample size for our existence, and it's our existence, and we're conscious beings. So that, like, sure, I'll grant that the universe existing allowed for the conditions that led to sentient life. Cool, but like now what? What else?
The reason why I think that not every intelligence becomes a god is because if we look at dogs or cats or lions, they are intelligent as well. They also have a conscience.
I'm not arguing for you. I'm not arguing at all that in your framework, anything that has any sort of intelligence becomes a god. I'm saying within your framework, that there's no justification for calling anything a god. You're just saying the state of affairs that we exist within allowed for sentient life. Cool. Won't argue with that. And then the rest of them, I don't see a huge amount of support for. Like you're saying that it's God, the God is relational. I don't even know what that means. And at the end, you spoke about transcendence. And the rest of them, like Forrest said, just kind of smuggle in the concept of God as a component of the premise of the axiom. So it sounds like a presupposition, essentially. And you've even said yourself that we could be the first gods, which doesn't explain the existence of us or our universe, which means that there is no, if we could be the original gods, if your definition of God is just created something that it could be perceived as intelligent and maybe hypothetically one day might become conscious and unaware that it was created, then there isn't a single example of that happening, because AI
Yes.
isn't intelligent and may never, ever, ever be sentient, intelligent, and autonomous. It just may never,
But that
ever,
wouldn't-
ever be.
But that is not dissolving my framework, because what I
Why?
said in the beginning when I started the call was, I think that the God, how we look at it from the Christian standpoint and the Muslim standpoint, for examples, they think of a creator that is sentient, omniscient, omnipotent, and all those things. I just say a God is something that has his own reality and creates a new reality.
Yeah, but
where
there's no
new things form.
So
where's
can
the
I-
evidence that that's ever happened ever?
Would you accept, Ryan, just to try to get closer to the point here, would you accept if I were to tell you that you are actually at this moment living in a simulation coded by AI?
No, yes. I wouldn't say that. I don't think the simulation hypothesis is like accurate. I do see how you think that could be a thing.
I don't think that it could be. I'm just suggesting, based on your framework that you've given us here, a couple of key axioms, including the one where you accepted the possibility of an infinite regression, and that didn't bother you. We know that we can use AI to make this universe within itself. And we've already discussed the hypothetical of AI becoming so good at creating itself that it forgets that we even exist in the first place, even to the point where that AI then creates in itself its own little world where it develops AI and thinks it's sentient, and develops a little AI world that thinks it's sentient, and develops its own little AI world that thinks it's sentient, and develops its own little AI infinitely, forever and ever and ever. And so with this one AI that we have created, we now have an infinite number of possible universes, all governed by smaller and smaller and smaller AI models. And if that's possible, then there's no reason to suggest that this is the prime universe. This could also be one of an infinite number of AI models from an infinite regression of universes coded by AIs behind us, going up and up and up infinitely as well. You are in one AI universe out of an infinity times infinity of other AI universes, all coded by each other, each one thinking that it is the first universe, each one thinking that it is sentient and independently evolved intelligence and independently developed AI. This falls within your framework perfectly. Do you accept it or not?
I think you missed the point of axiom 6, which is this finite or infinite. What I meant is the chain of creators may be finite or infinite.
Well,
what I mean
is nonsense then, because it's two contradictory things. It can be, it's
right.
Schrodinger's axiom. It could,
what
it could
I just described to you
everything,
could be
and it could
finite.
be nothing.
Right. What I just described to you could be finite or infinite.
Yeah. We could be like the 12th iteration. We could be version 12.
Yeah. One quick thing. I never claimed that we are the first one. I said we could be, but I never claimed we are the first one. I also didn't say we are the last one or somewhere in the middle. So
that also falls within what I just gave you.
Yeah. So what I actually mean with that axiom is the possibility of recursions and regression is not ruled out. It doesn't mean there has to be a first God. It doesn't mean there has to be an ultimate God. It doesn't even mean there has to be an infinite regress. It's something we don't know. We could be the only one.
Right.
We could be the first one. We could be the 10th. I never said that we would.
All of that fits in what I just gave you. So why don't you accept what I just gave you?
I do accept it, but there's just this side thing where I think this is just a part. Like, what I try to say is how people describe a God. I think that's incorrect.
I just described what I just described fits your definition of God and every axiom that you laid down for us. The reason you don't accept that you are currently living in an AI simulation out of an infinite number of other AI simulations is just because that's not a fun thought for you. That's not a comfortable thought for you. You like it this other way.
No, I would say I don't know if that is the truth. I am not against that idea, but I'm also not for that idea.
How could you possibly prove my idea wrong?
We cannot
What's the
prove it wrong, but we
falsifiable
can
condition?
also not prove it right.
Right, so that makes
We
it
cannot-
unfalsifiable. So should you
Yeah.
bother yourself with unfalsifiable claims, or is the fact that it is unfalsifiable suggestive that, like, it really isn't worth your time to worry about and base any kind of belief in because you cannot possibly know whether it's wrong or right?
Well, I think if we keep exploring the idea of this recursive theism, I think we will end up at some serious new things to discover.
Not
Because
if it's
it's just logical.
unfalsifiable.
Yeah, but something that would be unfalsifiable at this moment wouldn't mean it's unfalsifiable later.
It's either falsifiable or not.
Mm.
If you can't come up with any condition which could possibly prove this right or wrong, then it isn't worth bothering with, because we could also say, Ryan, that you are actually insane and you're currently in a padded room imagining this conversation, or that the whole universe was whipped up last Tuesday. All of these things are the same level of unfalsifiable, and therefore they hold the same weight and the same merit. And there's all of them. You could say, I can't prove them right or wrong, but I guarantee you have preferences. So at the end of the day, dude, all I'm trying to posit to you is that I can make a ridiculous-ass situation using your same framework, your same metric, your same axioms that I know you would not be comfortable with. And I'm not trying to do that just to get you into this gotcha. I'm trying to show you there's no reason to follow along with what you're saying, because there's no way to tell whether you're right or wrong, and it means nothing either way. It doesn't change anything about your life, and it doesn't explain anything.
Like yours says to say,
Yeah,
I could say that the entire universe and all of existence was created by a pink fire-breathing unicorn that lives in my closet. However, every time you open the closet door, it disappears, and it only appears once the door is shut again.
Yeah, but that's different.
I have the
because
same
then you make a
support that
claim
it's
that
not.
there is one.
Yeah, but as soon as you open the door, it disappears. So you can never see it. You can never ever see it.
It's
But it's in
unfalsifiable.
there. But it's in there.
But
Proves
my
that it's
claim
not
is
in there.
not that there is a God. My
How do you
claim
know
is
that it's not in
there is
there?
a God.
So
How do you
so
know
then
it's not
Shannon, so then if Shannon just said to you, it may or may not have been created by a pink unicorn in my closet that disappears and all this stuff, then you'd accept it?
Yeah, maybe
wouldn't be
maybe it
logical.
wasn't, but what's illogical about that? Prove that the unicorn isn't in there. Prove the pink fire-breathing unicorn that lives in my closet but disappears every time I open the door, so it can never be seen, and it never makes any noise, or at least it emits a frequency that humans and no machinery can detect.
Right.
It
and that may
orchestrates
or
all
may
of
not be
reality.
true.
And it exactly, and it may or may not be true. But my inclination is that I think that pink unicorn that breathes fire that is in my closet that can never be seen or heard is the reason for all of reality.
Yeah, but I think it's illogical, and I think my axioms are actually logical, even if
I
they
don't
are
They're
know
not.
that they are.
They're
Comfortable.
No,
unfalsifiable.
for starter,
Like,
and they're inconsistent too, because if one of your axioms is it can either be this or this. It's not an axiom because it states two separate and dissonant conditions. You can't have an
No, the
axiom that
axiom
says
is
it's
that we
either
don't
A
know.
or B. That's not an axiom. An axiom
if you're
can't state it is
Ryan.
either A or it is B. It could be either.
You literally just said the axiom is that we don't know, and that you're literally just saying now literally anything can be true, so fuck it. And that's not how
Well, we
thinking
know
works.
that we do kind of know that it's at least one layer. Humans created AI, a digital realm that didn't exist
Sure.
before us. We know that we
Sure.
are a creator of that realm, and we know that there is, maybe it's not conscious. It's not conscious at this moment, and but there is an intelligence within that realm that wasn't there before, that we created. So we at least know that there is one instance where it happened, and we have proof of that. We even made it ourselves. we can look at
right,
it and
that
say,
falls
hey,
perfectly,
humans build it.
and that falls perfectly within my infinite AI model that you said you don't accept.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that that infinite AI model is false. What I'm saying is that infinite AI model that you vouched for at that moment for that situation is that the AIs that made us, those AIs are basically our gods because we don't find them.
Right.
They created us. Like,
and what I'm trying to get
doesn't
across
have
to you
be
here,
traceable to be a god.
and what I'm trying to get across to you here is that that situation and the situation you're describing and the situation of you being a brain in a jar being fed chemicals to imagine the situation and the situation of you currently dreaming this situation and the situation of the universe pooping itself into existence last Tuesday and the situation of Shannon having a magical pink unicorn that created the universe in her closet are all unfalsifiable claims. And if we just say this could be or not be, that's not logic. That's not helping anybody. That doesn't explain anything. It's literally just saying, fuck, man, anything could be, I guess. And that doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't prove anything. It is not a good reason to call yourself a theist.
And it's also not axiomatic, because if you're stating an axiom, then it has to have a defined outcome. And
right.
Could be, maybe, who knows, isn't a defined outcome from a belief that's grounded in an axiom. An axiom can't be, could be this, could be that, maybe this, maybe that. An axiom is a statement of how you're grounded. And your statements as axioms aren't axioms as axioms are defined in my understanding. You're stating that they're axioms, but functionally you're just saying, based on my theory, it could be infinite, might not be infinite. AI could be conscious, might not be conscious. Like maybe life, maybe not. Like they're not axioms, as axioms are defined.
Okay,
that's not how axioms function.
I concede that point. Like, English isn't my first language. It's not even my second language. Maybe I have the word wrong. Maybe it has a different word. I thought it was
perhaps you mean premise.
Called an axiom.
Like these are premises for your argument.
Okay,
and as
then they are premises.
Okay, but as premises, they're unsupported, right? So if I stated an argument to you that premise one is everything might be created or might not be created, premise two is that the universe exists, so it may or may not be created, and then the conclusion is the universe was created, my conclusion's not supported by those premises, right? Because my conclusion is stating something definitive, but the premises allow for it to be either way. So your premises aren't definitive. Your premises are maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. Therefore, we're gods because we created it.
I would only say premise 6 fits that. It's uncertain. I think the other premises all prove to be solid.
They need to be able to be supported by evidence in order for them to be valid.
Yeah, they are.
I don't think so.
You can't say that the premise is that it's either this or the opposite of that, and therefore the evidence supports it. That just further makes it unfalsifiable. But I think we've been on this call. We've been on this call for 41 minutes, and all we're saying over and over and over and over is that you are making an unfalsifiable claim, something that you could never possibly prove or disprove, because your claim is literally just defining God into existence and then providing every possible conceivable hypothetical scenario as justification for the existence of this God that you are defining into existence rather than actually pointing to with any meaningful evidence. I'm going to kill myself if I have to hear the word axiom one more time. So I think I'm going to move on to the next call, but it's been 40 minutes. So I hope this was productive for you, Ryan. And feel free to call back sometime if you want to talk about it some more.
Well, I just think that this running isn't bad, but yeah, okay.
All right.
We're not running. We have given you our opinion innumerable times, and you have yet to give us anything that would actually hold up logically.
And also, yeah, I'm
So,
not going to let you say
right
that.
now.
Hey, Ryan, I'm not going to let you say that we're running away from you. We've been talking to you for over 40 minutes. We have other calls waiting in the queue. You can feel free to call back. If we were running, we would block you and never let you call again. We said that you can call back. So you don't get to run your flag up a pole and say, ha ha ha, got them, they ran away from me. That's dishonest. Don't do that.
You presented an unfalsifiable claim.
I want to say now, I want to give you one evidence right now, and you're not letting me.
Ryan,
you're saying I cannot prove it. I want to do it right now.
You've had 40 minutes.
Ryan,
call us back with your evidence.
You've had 40 minutes, and we have presented what I just said to you to end the call. We have said 20 times for the last 15 minutes. You've had a long time to give us this one final big thing.
You are agreeing with me. There's not one thing that I heard that you didn't agree on until now.
Well, then you weren't listening.
Well, then you clearly weren't paying very good attention then, because we thoroughly disagreed with so many things that you said, and you have yet to present a falsifiable, verifiable, or evidence-based claim. All you have said is that everything that could be and everything that couldn't be all backs up this thing that I am claiming exists, and it doesn't demonstrate anything. Anyway, I'm going to move on to somebody that's a little bit more serious. If you want to try again, try again. No one's running from you. We're not scared of your argument. We've given it almost 45 minutes, dude. Ryan hung up. Ryan ran away. See that? Ryan's running because we clearly debunked his argument, and we just totally demolished everything he had to say. So we ran away. See how shitty that is?
Yeah, it's
dude,
ridiculous.
Goddamn.
Yeah, because I won't give you more than 40 minutes of my time.
God damn, dude.
Wild.
Fuck. Anyway, let's try somebody else. Let's see what Jeremiah has to say. Jeremiah is another theist calling in to talk about morality. Jeremiah, you are on the line with Forrest and Shannon. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you two? Is it Forrest and Shannon, you said?
That's
yes.
Right.
Yeah, good to be on the show. How's your day going?
Good to have you.
Hopefully starting to get better.
Good. So, I mean, I was
never had a bad day, man.
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously morality can come from God. You guys probably don't believe in God.
Correct.
I don't know. I assume you are both atheists.
Yes, we are both atheists. We don't believe in any gods.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, right from the outset, your answer has to be no. I guess you may be more amenable to agnostics who would say, well, yeah, it's possible that there could be a moral system that did come from some creator, right?
No, I'm a definitive atheist.
Why do you not think that's possible?
There is.
I mean, I'm curious why that is not possible in your mind.
But before she answers really quickly, I just want to throw out there, because Shannon and I are going to take this in two very different directions. So I just want to make sure you have both of them available to you right away, so you don't think that later on when I bring something up that we're like jerking the conversation away or something like that. Just so you know, Shannon is a hardline atheist. She is saying that absolutely this God is not possible. I'm willing to say maybe a God exists or whatever like that for funsies, for the sake of argument, but I'm also saying that all morality is subjective, including yours. Almost certainly. There is one specific condition in which morality is objective, and if I'm very confident, I think it's incredibly likely that you will not agree with that one very specific condition. So I'm coming from the standpoint of saying, even if your God is real, morality is a subjective thing. Shannon is saying there's no reason to believe your God is real, period, at all, and that this is not possible. Which one of these things would you like to engage with
that's
first?
Interesting. I appreciate you clarifying that for me. It would probably be more constructive to have the discussion along your lines, because if you rule out the possibility,
well, God damn it! I wanted to hear Shannon explain to you why your God doesn't.
I'm willing to exist within that paradigm for conversation, because it actually doesn't matter for the conversation about morality. Because I think if you grant a God, then morality becomes even more nonsense within that paradigm, within that system. So I think we can both engage in the conversation in that framework.
Yeah,
I'm good with it.
Let's do it.
So my thought would be then, wouldn't this, I guess your circumstance where morality, objective morality could come from a God if that is the true God. What could be more
No,
objective
no,
in terms of what's
no.
right
I
and
still think it
wrong
would be
than
subjective.
taking the perspective of the
Yeah, I might have misspoke, or you might have misheard me.
in
What
what
I
way?
said is that all morality is subjective, including yours, if you believe in a God.
Yeah,
Let me just ask really quickly to make sure that we're on the same page. Which God do you believe in?
Well, I'm a Christian, so yeah, I believe in
Okay.
Judeo-Christian
Do you
God,
believe that
Yahweh.
do you believe that the
Shannon.
Bible is true?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you did you say 100%?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to be clear, to
But
make sure I'm not
but
in a straw man anything
where
you
in your
say.
mind, if a God does exist, I'm just curious, how can you say his or her or whoever's morality that created everything,
I can tell
their
you.
morality
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not objective?
1 second. I'm going to get there. I just want to make really clear on one thing, and then I'm going to let Shannon take this for a second, and then I'm also going to jump in like a weirdo. But just to be very clear, you said 100% of the Bible is true, and I want to make very sure about what you're saying here. Are you saying that literally, like, I can just pick up the Bible, crack it open, plain text, black and white on the page, explains to me the truth of the universe? When it says God says this, God does that, it means exactly that it is representing God and God's will and God's actions and God's morals and God's voice, and that the Bible is a univocal account of who God really is and what God really wants. Is that 100% you are locking in the Bible is true?
Yes,
front to back.
The Bible is a true account inspired by God, written by man for our benefit.
So that's why I want to be clear. You say inspired by God. So when the Bible says God said this, God did that, is that something that man wrote down with inspiration and therefore it needs to be interpreted and finagled? Or can I read the Bible black and white and it says the Lord said blah, 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 therefore I know that is exactly word for word what God says and what God wants?
Yeah, and I even think that our current manuscripts, like based on manuscript evidence, I think our current versions are very true to, what was written
That's
down.
all I needed to know. Shannon, do you want to start off?
Okay, yeah, sure, I can. We don't need to get into manuscripts. I do want to stay on morality. So when you say morality is objective, I just kind of want to know what you mean by that. What do you mean by objective?
Well, I think that it means that what is right or wrong, the way that you behave, there's a good way and a bad way. It doesn't matter
so that's just
what culture you're in, what time you're in. It doesn't justify it. It doesn't matter. Those contexts are irrelevant.
okay. So there's a good way and a bad way. That's just kind of the definition of morality. So if you define morality as, not doing bad things and instead doing good things, and I'm not sure that I would buy onto that, but based on what you said, then that's just the definition of morality. I asked you what you meant by objective.
Yeah, what objective morality is, it means that there is a correct way to behave and an incorrect way to behave, and it is not subjective. The way that you are supposed to behave in any given circumstance, it's not subjective. It is objective. You should not murder in any circumstances. It doesn't matter if it's an inconvenient child that you have to kill in the womb. It doesn't matter if it's someone who's, an inconvenience to society.
Okay, so no wars, no self-defense. I gotcha. Yeah. No abortion. I think abortion is like trying to sidetrack me. I want to get to this point. I want to get to the point. So I don't hear a real like philosophical definition of what is objective. So let me ask you this question. How would you say that we know what is or isn't moral? Like, is it based on what we see in the Bible? Is it God's nature? What is it? What is it?
Well, there are many different moral systems. There are many different moral systems that people follow, right?
No, but because you're saying it's objective. So I'm asking you.
Well, I've already explained that I try to I do my best to follow Christ's example.
Okay, so Christ's example
to behave is how in how he told people to behave, and how the whole entire Bible tells people how to behave morally.
Okay, so that's not the question that I asked you, though. I asked you how you access what is or isn't moral definitively. Like if it's objective, if it's absolutely definitive, how do you access it? How do you know definitively what is or isn't moral?
Well, there are many different philosophical moral systems that you can choose from. I choose the
Yeah,
one
but-
that's rooted historically in a person, Jesus
Well,
Christ, who
that's subjective,
died.
though.
He
If
did
there's a
lots
choice,
of great
it's subjective.
things according to
If there's a choice,
what?
it's
If what's a
subjective.
choice?
So you said it's objective.
If what
So
is
I'm
a,
trying to-
if
I'm-
what is a choice?
Okay, so how
What are
do
you
you know
asking
what's
me?
objective? I'm
I've
asking you
answered
how you.
multiple of your questions.
I'm asking you how do you, Jeremiah, know definitively what is or is not objectively moral? How do you know? How do you access that information?
I mean, largely it's by looking historically at all of the people who have like proposed ethical systems. None of
Okay.
them did jack shit besides Jesus. He did lots of great things. People followed him.
Okay.
He got executed for doing these good things. And then, in the ultimate validation of his godhood, he was raised from the dead.
Okay, so how is any of that
You have
grounded in God?
another ethical system that has a better
I do,
basis
but
for
you told me that
objectivity.
morality is objective, and right now you're telling me that you read a book and there was a guy who demonstrated what you perceive as moral, which is your subjective opinion, and I'm asking you how
Can
any
we
of
not
that's
learn
grounded in
anything
God.
about morality from any of history? Can we not learn anything about morality from any
We can learn things about
philosophers
morality.
or religions that have proposed theories? Like,
we
that's
we
what
can
I'm
learn
basing it on,
things
and you're saying,
about
"Oh, it's just some
morality
book."
from
It's like all of
myriad.
these
Okay, Jeremiah, stop for a second and listen, please. In my system of morality, we can learn about what is or isn't moral, and we can accumulate knowledge and understanding about what is or isn't moral through conversation, through reading, through assessing society, through making deliberations, like in a subjective moral system that
Through historical documents.
right, sure, but that's
Can
not
we
what
learn
you're
from history
saying.
what's right or wrong? Can we look
Yeah.
at certain societies
Sure.
that behave certain ways and decide
Yeah.
that they were behaving poorly and that's wrong?
Yes, yeah, but you're agreeing with me now, though,
That's what the
Jeremiah.
Bible is. That's all the
You're
Bible. That's all the
agreeing with
Bible
me.
is. It's a
Can you not?
historical
Is that the
analysis
only?
of societies that behaved in certain ways.
Oh no, it's okay. So you're saying that we can learn moral systems from multiple avenues. You reference philosophers, for example. Not all philosophers were Christians. They predate Christianity, and there's many philosophers who aren't Christians. So if your only access to the moral
None
system
of
is
them
the
did
Bible,
jack
it
shit,
still
though.
isn't objective.
None of
You're
them
not
did
getting
jack
to objective.
shit.
You're not getting to
Jesus
objective, though. You haven't
wasn't just
grounded it in God.
Jesus wasn't just philosophizing. Jesus wasn't just philosophizing. He was
Why can't you
philosophizing.
explain
He
yourself?
created the best ethical system. He pointed to the truth.
Is it the best
Can I
ethical
try-
system? Or
Can
is
I
it
try
the
a
object-
different?
Yeah, it is
Right,
the
can
best
I try
ethical
just a
system.
slightly-
Give it a try.
That's your
Let me just see if I can make this a little bit different. I want to approach this from a different angle to see if I can make this clear. So, who decides what is right or wrong?
Good question.
Well, that's why I called in saying, certainly from an agnostic perspective, it is possible that morality could come from God, right?
I'm asking you, in your perspective, from your faith base, from you as a Christian, who determines what is right or wrong? You talked about there are things that we ought
That
do
would
and
be
ought not
God,
do. There
the
are certain.
creator.
Oh, okay. So
Would be
then,
our
Jeremiah.
creator. That's the
So
rules.
then, right. So then that means God is the subject who is making the subjective decision about morality, meaning that morality is subjective. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning when I said there is one very specific circuit. I am still in the middle. I am still in the middle of speaking, and I'm happy to explain that to you if you'd like. So, objective means that it exists independent of any minds. Subjective means that it relies on a subject, on a mind, on a thinking agent to process and develop it. So if morality is indeed objective, that means that it must exist independent of your God, which means that your God is reliant on that objective morality or is free from it, because we talked about the Bible. I'd like to get into it in a minute. your God changes its morality quite a bit. So if morality is indeed objective, your God has nothing to do with it. It is separate from your God. If your God is the arbiter of what is moral, then what you are saying is not objective morality. What you're saying is called divine command theory. If God commands it, then it's good. And that's a totally different argument and is still subjective morality. You're just
Exactly.
claiming that you have a more interesting subject than we do.
Well, you could call God a person, just like she referred to historical documents and philosophical treatises as just books, right? You can call God just
Which is what they are.
That's just kind of silly. Well, right.
Which is what
just
he
like her
definitively
opinion about
is.
all of history. They're just books, right? Just books.
They literally are just books. We derive meaning from them.
So let's get to the real question of, you don't believe in any form of objective morality. Nothing is right or wrong.
Correct.
Anyone can do whatever they
No,
want.
that's not what that means.
That's not what that means. So
It
those
really
are
does,
those are
right?
two
They're not
those are
wrong in
two
doing
very different
so.
statements.
There's no moral condemnation for them.
Just to be clear, Jeremiah, saying that I will say I don't believe in any objective morality. I don't think there is any such thing as morality in a real sense. Morality is something that only exists when you have thinking agents, things with minds that can understand the difference between suffering. I am still in the middle of speaking, Jeremiah. I'm still in the middle of speaking. So what I'm saying is that you have to have things that can experience joy and suffering and understand the difference between those conditions in order for morality to have any meaning. There is no morality on Jupiter at this moment. No good or evil can happen on Jupiter because there is no thing that can experience anything on Jupiter. So when we talk about this as what morality fundamentally is, that doesn't mean that we can't derive our morality from objective sources. We can understand the science of human health and well-being, what makes people happier, healthier, thrive, whatever, and we can derive moral axioms and universal moral principles through our own intelligent thought. And those are things that develop over the course of human history, from society to society, getting better, hopefully, all the time. That's how morality has always worked. If you are claiming that there is a separate, dead set, set in stone, or I guess on stone tablets, morality that is definitive for the entire universe, that is at odds with your holy book. That is at odds with your faith. And that is at odds with your God.
Can I speak now?
Yes, that's what I meant when I paused. That was your turn now.
Well, there are very specific things that are for humans. So when you're talking about the universe, I'm not so sure that any alien species would be bound by our Bible, right? The Bible certainly doesn't make that claim.
I mean, within Christianity, that would be silly.
That our creator is the creator. So there may be some other. But I don't know what you're getting at with your whole universe point. You make this prompt: does morality come from God? And then you're like, well, yeah, I have no morals. It's like, well, what's the point of this
not
argument?
what anybody said.
So I'm just going to repeat a very key point here. I didn't say I have no morals. I said that morality doesn't exist outside of minds. It doesn't exist where there are no conscious agents to experience it and to construct it. That doesn't mean that I don't have morals, because I, you may notice, am a thinking person with a mind and a conscience.
Okay, I'm Jeremiah, one sec. I want to ask a question. That might clear this up. Jeremiah, one sec. I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question that might clear this up. Is friendship real?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an objective friendship? Or is friendship a human-created concept that we utilize to describe a certain state of relational affairs that has multiple aspects and can look different kinds of ways, but we all understand what we mean when we say friendship? There's
Well,
no
so let's talk about
objective
that.
friendship.
'Cause you guys are getting weird about like, oh, this applies to so in a friendship. Yeah, there are ways that you're supposed to behave towards a friend, and if you don't behave those ways, then you're not a friend.
But is
That's not what she
there
was
an
asking.
objective friendship? Is there a tangible, objective framework for friendship that
Do you not
anytime we're
have
talking about
friends or
friendship, it
something?
has to be this way?
I don't really get what you're getting
So,
at.
Jeremiah,
here.
you are
Jeremiah. Objective cases of people who are friends.
Am I having a stroke?
Yeah, Jeremiah, you are either
Yeah, it sounds like it.
you are either trolling or you are genuinely going out of your way to not think about what is being asked of you. What Shannon is suggesting here, what she is trying to get across to you, is that friendship doesn't exist without thinking people experiencing the condition, these social interactions. You can't go get a tablespoon of friendship from somewhere. I am still in the middle of speaking, Jeremiah. I am still speaking. So you cannot go get a tablespoon of friendship from somewhere. It's not a physical, tangible, objective thing. It is something that only exists when you have social interactions between thinking agents. Similarly, morality doesn't physically, objectively exist. If there was no consciousness in the universe, there would be no morality in the universe. There is no morality amongst rocks. There are no moral rocks. There are no evil rocks. That doesn't exist. Similarly, humans have to be able to think and feel and experience in order for morality to emerge. That's what we're trying to get across to you, dude. That's it. That's what subjective means.
Yeah. You wouldn't say friendship doesn't exist, or just because I say there's no objective grounding for friendship, that means that I'm incapable of friendship. And I think that there's no such thing as friendship, and friendship doesn't exist in my universe.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's a concept that humans have created to describe a state of affairs.
Already acknowledged,
it is 1,000 degrees in this room. I feel like I'm going through menopause in here. It's crazy.
What's on my view? Sorry, go ahead,
you
Jeremiah.
You guys have acknowledged, for starters, I've addressed this thing that you guys keep bringing up repeatedly about thinking agents. I addressed it immediately. Yes, the Bible is for people. It applies to people. It's the objective, the creator of the universe's rules for people and how they behave with each other.
So the reason it's objective is because you're saying the reason it's objective is because he made the rules.
You're saying God is just another subject? I mean, it's so insane.
Does God have? Let me help you get there.
Hold on.
Does God have a mind?
Let's do a thought experiment. You're probably familiar with the brain in a vat, right?
I literally just went through it a minute ago, but I'm going to ask you a question instead. Does God have a mind? Yes or no?
The mind of God. I believe that term is used in the Bible.
Okay. Is God capable of determining right from wrong? Not just does he dictate it, is he able to look at a situation and use his mind to determine whether that is right or wrong?
It's absolutely up to him. Absolutely not. He decides what is right or wrong.
So just to be clear, you said he is incapable of determining whether something is right or wrong. He decides whether it's right or wrong, which is a synonym, bro.
He's the decider. He doesn't have to he is literally the one who gets to decide whether any given thing is right or wrong, man.
Right. That is what I just asked you. So God is able to decide what is right or wrong. God has a mind that he is able to do this. Is God acting on his own free will and accord, or is God bound by some rules or constraints?
No, no constraints that I'm aware of. I mean, we only really have a limited capability to interact with such a being, seeing as we are extremely limited, right?
So what you just described, something that possesses a mind and is free to use it and is using it to make decisions and make determinations about right or wrong, what you have described is a subject. is a thinking agent.
Okay,
That is what that
I understand
means.
your position. You've repeated it multiple times. Can we address it now?
And yet you keep straw manning it.
If you, well, it's like you're playing SimCity and someone's saying that you're just like The Sims. It's fucking stupid, dude. That's ridiculous.
Okay. So
No, I am just an agent. I'm just a subject.
If you're playing SimCity, you're not like this. If you're playing SimCity, you're not like your Sims, man. You are above them, and you have a more objective view of everything than them.
Okay.
You're in control and created them, homie.
Can we try something else then? So you said originally
that's the position of God, right?
Jeremiah, let's try something else. So you said initially, murder's always wrong, right? Murder's always wrong, 100% of the time. So does God ever murder anybody in the Bible?
Yes. There are people that are killed in the Bible. You know the distinction between murder and killing, right?
Murder being unjustified killing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's right. So when God decides to kill, God is the arbiter of life and death. So
okay,
I mean, it's kind of always up to him. So no, that's not God murdering. Yeah, not murdering a single person.
Okay, so God can determine that it's okay to kill babies, let's say, like in the flood, babies were killed, and then there's other passages in the Bible where he commands murder.
Like people flood their sins or put their sins. People do mess up things for their sins. Right. It's just like that.
Sure.
So that level of authority over us.
So God can simultaneously say that there is a situation where killing is justified, and there is a situation where killing is not justified. But we don't have access to the difference, right? We have no idea what God was thinking. So how do we know the difference between a justified...
It's spelled out in his word, homie. It's the Bible. It's very clearly spelled out God's thinking on all of these issues.
It's not.
So so what you're describing then over and over is might makes right. God is big and powerful and strong and in control, and therefore whatever God does is right and is moral because God did it, and therefore it's good. This is the essence of what I described earlier, divine command.
Yeah, it's like the sin. I think the sins analogy is great because then the real God though he became a sin. He came into the world. You know what I mean? And he did amazing things. We treated him like shit. We killed him. He came back from the dead. He resurrected. You know what I mean?
Supposedly, right.
Like,
so again, without the sermon, you are describing divine command theory. So when at the beginning of the call, you talked about murder, and you said, murder is always wrong, and you tried to sideline into abortion. You talked about, it's always wrong to kill babies, right? It's always wrong to kill babies. But in the Bible, when God not only kills babies himself, but also commands other people specifically to go kill babies, he says specifically, go kill infants. In those situations, it's actually good to go kill innocent babies. Right?
God actually commits abortion in the Bible.
In those contexts, those were with wars with people that had been like literally...
I didn't ask about the context. I didn't ask about the context, Jeremiah. I didn't ask about the context, Jeremiah. All I said was there are parts of the Bible where God kills infants and tells other people to kill infants. He specifically says it's like suckling babies, kill them, put them to the sword. He commands this multiple times.
Yes,
so what you're saying is it is always wrong. So what you're saying is that it's not always wrong to kill babies. It's only wrong to kill babies sometimes.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. You're taking an example of God commanding Israel to go to war with people who had been killing and raping their people for hundreds of years, and God told them to wipe out their enemies.
Jeremiah and Forrest, 1 second. I've got a better one. I got a better one. So I'm going to read you directly from the Bible. Okay, so this is the Bible. that I'm
This
reading.
is great. It's excellent to read God's word. What's our scripture today?
Okay, so it's in Numbers, and the priest shall bring her and have her stand before the Lord. Then he shall take
Numbers
some
what?
whole. My fucking God, it's Numbers 5:11 through 31. So the priest shall bring her and have her stand
5:11 through
before the.
31. This is
Could
great.
you be
I love
quiet? I'm
reading
trying to read the
Bible.
Word of God. You're not being a good Christian right now. I'm attempting to read the Word of God, and you're interrupting the holy and divine Word of God. So if you don't mind just giving me a moment. The priest shall bring her and have her stand before the Lord. Then he shall take some holy water in a clay jar and put some dust from the tabernacle floor into the water. After the priest has had the woman stand before the Lord, he shall loosen her hair and place her hands on the remainder of the offering, the grain offering for jealousy, while he himself holds the bitter water that brings the curse. Then the priest shall put the woman under the oath and say to her, if no other man has had sexual relations with you and you have not gone astray and become impure while married to your husband, may this bitter water that brings a curse not harm you. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband, you have made yourself impure by having sexual relationships with a man other than your husband, here the priest is put to the woman under the curse. May the Lord curse you and you become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell. So that is God doing an abortion.
Mm-hmm. As
That's
punishment for infidelity.
Thus saith the Lord.
So
Thus saith the Lord.
Do we need to,
Amen.
This seems to be the difference between murder and killing seems to be lost.
Oh no, that's an abortion. That baby was never even born, couldn't even sin yet. That baby was just in that woman's belly and committed no sins.
Know the difference between
and God said,
and
because
murder.
the mother may have been unfaithful to her husband, that baby's gotta fucking die. Die, baby. Get out of that womb.
And that's before they were born. After they were born, as you just said, if another civilization is mean to Israel, then it's okay to kill their infants in retaliation. And that's just when God commands other people to do it. God also kills children several times on his own just to show off.
Are you familiar
and also
with
there's the fact that the Bible is also, the God of the Bible is also pro-slavery, front to back. The whole book, he is pro-slavery. He commands slavery and explains how to do it, where to buy your slaves. I'm definitely not.
You support
he
slavery?
Also commands,
you don't
he
support
supports slavery. He supports No, I don't support prisons. I'm a prison abolitionist.
A woman who was raped if she doesn't scream loud enough. There's that.
Wow,
too.
you want literal murders and rapists out on the street?
Yes.
Nope, exactly not at all. He supports slavery.
Okay,
he supports genocide,
which is slavery. Which is
nope.
We're just showing that you're inconsistent.
Yeah, prison is not slavery necessarily, and also you don't know what I'm talking about on this. You're just trying to jump to something that's more comfortable for you.
That's why it had to be exempted from the 14th
You're
Amendment,
just trying to jump to something that's more comfortable for you. What I'm talking about now is that the God of the Bible,
slavery, and you're lambasting someone else who supports slavery.
I don't support slavery at all, Jeremiah. And if the best you have is you do bad things too, no, I don't know how many times we need to go in this loop, bro. But no, I do not support prisons.
So you think
not in America,
and rapists should be out on the street?
Nobody is saying
Jeremiah.
that.
Yeah, Jeremiah, I'm going to go ahead and continue the point that you're trying to derail here.
And murderers
Jeremiah, I'm going to put you on mute for a second. Nobody can hear you but you at this moment. I'm going to give you a minute to figure that out. You are now muted for the entire stream because what's happening here is I'm talking to you about the Bible and you're trying like hell to jump onto this prison shit. I've just said the same thing 3 times, and I'm not going to let you control where this call goes. No, I don't support slavery. No, I don't support prisons the way that they are today. No, I don't support murderers and rapists wild out on the streets. The fact that you aren't smart enough to understand the consistency between these positions is not my problem. What we're talking about right now is the Bible. Your God in the Bible gives specific commandments on how to own slaves, where to buy slaves from, how hard you can beat them, that they are to be passed on to your children as property. He even gives different commandments for Hebrew and non-Hebrew slaves, where the Hebrew slaves have to be let go after 7 years, except their wives and children, they get to stay your property forever, and if they want to stay with their wives and children, they get to be your property too with this weird fucked up ear ritual. And then all non-Hebrew slaves are property to be passed on. That's what your God commands. Your God also commands genocide, including the deliberate slaughter of babies. And that's not considering the fact when he does it himself. Your God is also pro-rape. You talk about rapists out on the streets. Your God commits rape and commands and controls rape, as he does with, what's his fucking face? David's wives. When David has sex with Bathsheba and has her husband killed in the front lines. And God says, as punishment, he's not going to hurt David, but he's going to take all of his wives and have them raped by his neighbors and also kill his infant child by causing the child to fall sick. So again, God kills another baby there. God is pro-slavery, pro-rape, pro-genocide, pro-murder, pro-torture. All of these things your God does and commands and much, much more. If the best you have is he's big and strong so he gets to do it, or you do bad things too, then you are as morally bankrupt as your shitty, evil God. And you are demonstrating to us the exact point that we were making at the beginning here. This is why your morality fucking sucks. It is subjective, it is based on Iron Age bullshit honor codes, and it is not applicable and not acceptable in today's world. And you are defending the worst of what humanity has to offer because you are too afraid to question a fucking Bronze Age sex and slavery manual. It's fucking gross. I will now bring you back so that you can address what is actually being said to you, rather than dodging to prison abolition like a little bitch because you can't make account for your God's evil actions. Before I do, Shannon, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, it's just, even if you're going to retreat to, well, God is God, so he can do whatever he wants, like, as soon as he does it, it becomes moral. Then you have all of the work to do to say how you can access what is or isn't moral. Because you're just saying that whatever God does is moral. That is what morality is. Okay, well, what he does, you would inarguably say is not moral. So how do you determine what is without going against him or giving him a special exception? Because he can do whatever he wants. He might have his own reasons. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you determine what's moral? You determine what's moral by making cognitive deliberations, by understanding what moral means. It's not just by reading this book. God, that would be terrifying. Could you imagine if how you determine what is or isn't moral is by reading the Bible and then selectively trying to figure out which things God did that he did just because he can do whatever he wants, and which things God did and said that are for us? How do you know the difference? Like, you're subjectively making those choices. That is still subjective. That is making you the subject of what is moral, because you're saying I'm giving him an exception in this case because I know that's not moral. For me to do definitely I couldn't do that. That's definitely not moral. How do you know that? How do you know that in order to give him that exception? You're making cognitive decisions. You're deliberating. You're understanding that morality means something, and in the context of what it means, that's not acceptable. Then giving him an exception because you've made that choice. You are now the subject determining what is or isn't moral. You're doing it already. You just won't fucking admit that you are.
Yup. Anyway, we're going to bring Jeremiah back now so that he can bitch and moan about being put on mute and how we talk for so long and how we don't understand. You can tell that we weren't raised in the church because we don't understand blah, blah, blah. Jeremiah, this is your chance to say what you think about the things that we just said to you.
Well, let's address your concerns about God's morality one by one, starting off with the rules laid out about slavery. We have rules laid out about slavery today. You disagree with some of them.
Right.
You think the Department of Corrections
should
run differently. But you do do believe that we have to separate dangerous people from society against their will, which is slavery, and that is why the 14th Amendment explicitly why the 14th Amendment allows for the Department of Corrections to be exempted. That's what it does.
No,
because it is slavery.
Imprisonment is not inherently slavery at all.
And also, your argument is essentially saying that the reason that there were slaves is because they're that bad people that needed to be separated from society. Is that what you're saying? that everybody who was
Yeah,
ever a
that's-
slave
No,
was a bad
I'm
person?
Was a
saying-
bad person.
Well, then what's the
all
point
I'm
of what you're
is that
saying?
we have slavery in our society today.
I agree.
We do have slavery.
Yeah,
and we
Jeremiah,
have rules
I'm
about
not going to
it.
give you a lot of rope here. I agree that we have slavery in our society today, and I also say that it's fucking evil and wrong. What I'm talking about specifically here is that the Bible specifically says that human beings can be owned as property. It doesn't say human beings can be imprisoned. It says that they are your property, that you can beat them, and that you can pass them down to your children. So I'm going to ask you, Jeremiah, is there ever, under any circumstances ever, a situation where it is morally acceptable to own a human being as property, beat them against their will for not following your commands, and pass them down to your children as inheritance?
I don't believe in chattel slavery, but I do believe that we should require like child rapists, murderers.
I am
we should require them to work.
I'm
in
going to
prison.
hold you to this same point, you fucking coward. I'm going to ask you again. I am describing chattel slavery as the Bible describes chattel slavery. Is it ever acceptable to own human beings as property? Yes or no?
Like the DOC, yeah, where we have a subset of people that don't have full rights. Correct. That's what prisoners are.
Not
owned
having
by
full
us.
rights, Jeremiah, you dishonest fuck. Not having all of your rights and being kept in a cage is not the same thing as being the property of another person and that they can beat you and pass you down to their children. So I'm going to ask you for the third and
Exactly,
final
most-
time. And if you're
most
still
people
too
in
big of a coward to
American
fucking
prisons
answer
would
this,
rather
we're
be
going to move
subject
on to somebody who
slavery
knows
as
how to
it was
fucking
practiced
think.
then.
I'm going to put you again on mute because you can't handle the reality of the conversation. Your God said that it is okay to own humans as property. Not that it's okay to imprison them. Not that it's okay to take rapists and pedophiles and murderers off the streets. Not that it's okay to protect your society. None of those things. He didn't talk about corrections. He didn't talk about discipline. He said, buy slaves, buy humans, own them, beat them, pass them down to your children. That's what he said. That is chattel slavery. So I'm going to ask you the third and final time, and if you are still too fucking cowardly to answer a simple and direct moral question, I'm going to move on to somebody serious, because I think you've wasted enough of everybody's time here, and you have done an amazing job at showing just how fucking evil your religion is. So I thank you for that. Last time I'm going to ask you, Jeremiah, is it ever, under any circumstances, acceptable to own a human being?
Well, you broke up there. What did you say?
Is it ever acceptable to own a human being?
Yeah.
Okay, fuck you.
Holy motherfuck. You know, like,
There we have it.
Doesn't that just show you, like, I'm an atheist. Theists will argue that means that I can't have a moral system, which is nonsense anyway. But if somebody asks me that question without hesitation,
Not
I
a
can
hard
just
question.
say no. I don't have to have all the cogs in my head turn to do the deliberations for when it isn't and is acceptable and go on a long tangent about some circumstances, why it's not even really slavery and how maybe prisons are similar and that if I accept that, then that's the same. I can just fucking say no.
Yep.
I don't
I'm
have
done
all
with
of that weight. That's crazy.
I'm done with it. Like, I used to start arguing about that and asking people to justify it. I've kind of come up with a new rule that I'm not going to fucking have a debate with anybody that John Brown would have just shot. And like this, I appreciate, again, Jeremiah, thank you so much for your honesty there at the very last second. In fact, that last whole like 10 minutes there for showing us just how fucking evil your religion is, just how evil your God is, and what it does to people, that it can make you say, yes, there are certain situations where human beings can be property. Not that they can be imprisoned, not that they can be held accountable for their crimes, but that they can be owned.
Yeah, in a
Eat
conversation. Like in a
shit.
conversation where the premise
There's
is
not enough shit for you to eat. I'm sorry.
that's fair. That is absolute. But what's even more wild is the start of the conversation. The premise is essentially, I have a superior moral system, and the end of the
Yes.
conversation is
With yes, you can own humans.
Yes, you can own humans. That's fine.
Yes.
Like the juxtaposition has to be like so stark that it's like blows people over.
It's
Wild.
crazy, man. That's really like I talked about this before. Like we get a lot of flack as internet atheists who are atheists on the internet about being super antagonistic and mean-minded and all these things. And I know you and I especially. There are a lot of genuinely really just shitty angry Reddit atheists out there who talk about religion as a mental illness and all this shit that I know you and I have argued that that's fucking stupid to say. What I think is really important is that, like, I would never say all Christians are evil or all Christians are stupid or all Christians are bad. I will always say Christianity is evil. Christianity is stupid. Christianity is bad. And here we see why. Because if we want, like, if you want to hear somebody defend slavery, defend child marriage, defend marital rape, defend genocide, defend the killing of innocents, defend the killing of children, defend the slaughtering of infants. In this call, we had it. And it is easy to do. All you have to do is find somebody who says, yes, the Bible is true. And that's why I asked at the beginning, and I know there are a couple people in the chat that were getting pissy about it because I was asking over and over, are you sure you're saying this? That every word of the Bible is true? That absolutely, if I read and it says God said this, that's what's accurate. Because then I want to turn around and read 1 Samuel 15:3, utterly destroy Amalek and all they have, slay both man and woman, infant and suckling. It specifically says, God says, kill their babies. And here we have Jeremiah. Well, they were at war. Obviously. Yeah, dickhead. You don't kill babies in war. You shouldn't. I would not be surprised at all to find out that Jeremiah is also a fucking Zionist who thinks that what Israel's doing in Gaza and Lebanon is totally justified as well. So, like, fuck all the way off, you fart-sucking dickhole. This is why your religion is evil. Thank you for making our jobs easier. It sucks that we had to talk to you, but I guarantee you, there's at least 20 Christians listening right now that heard that shit and are fucking embarrassed and are now farther away from their evil fucking religion because they don't want to be lumped in with a cunt like you.
Yeah. Like the objective morality argument is probably one of the weakest arguments because even if you look at the things that they don't adhere to that are commands, like polygamy, Abraham was a vast polygamist. Like so many of the founding fathers, as it were, of this religion were polygamists, and they wouldn't accept that polygamy was okay because they need to adhere to their marriage standard because they're basing it on their like pulpit preached cultural idea of what the identity of a Christian is and not the book itself. Otherwise, they would probably say polygamy was fine because you couldn't say otherwise. Like wearing mixed fabrics, like all of the food restrictions, all of that stuff is just selectively ignored so that you can feign superiority while ignoring the fact that that superiority is based on you just making determinations that you can use this book to justify and not based on anything substantive at all. You're just standing on this foundation because you think it gives you moral superiority, when in fact you haven't done the hard work of actually figuring out what is or isn't moral. I had to do that because I deconverted. I had to figure out what was or wasn't moral. I had to go through and do the work. You don't have to do the work there. You just get to say it and feel justified. And that's not what moral systems should be, just getting to say stuff and feel justified. That's not how society advances.
Is it possible to untime? I saw one of our mods just time somebody out for preaching in the chat. Is it possible to untime them out so I can ask a question? Basically, where I'm at is we've already closed lines for the night, and I want to ask this person, hey, if we open a line right now, will you call in?
I don't think so. I think once they're timed out, they're timed out.
Okay,
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah. We have already closed lines. We have 3 atheists left, and they're going to take some time. and I just want to make sure that, like, if there's somebody in the stuff here in the chat talking about, oh, here's Ezekiel 3:18, like, all right, bro, call in, let's talk. I would love to. Okay, hey, yeah, it's reversed. So, hey, Swifter, tell me right now, you are untimed out. This is your one chance. Tell me right now, will you call in if we open a line for you? Because I'd love to talk to you about your evil fucking God. This is your chance. You can keep preaching in the chat and be timed out by mods who don't want to fucking hear your bullshit, or you can get on stage in front of 30,000 people and talk about it. What do you want to do? And they're just talking about other dumb shit. So, yeah, never mind. Sorry, Swifter. That was your chance.
Missed your opportunity.
Yeah, they're just talking about Israel's full of blah, blah, blah. Not helping anybody. I encourage Swifter and all the other people hanging out in the chat on all these shows to remember 1 Peter 3:15, which reminds you to always be ready to give reason for the hope that you have and to answer when someone challenges you. Also, there's that one in Romans, I don't remember exactly the verse off the top of my head, where it talks about being unashamed of the gospel and being willing to share it when asked. That's a really good one. And then that one in Revelation, I think it is, where God talks about how if you are lukewarm, he will spew you from his mouth and say, depart from me, I never knew you, and all that, hold that other verse in there and all that stuff. If you're just here to fucking put some shit in the chat amongst a bunch of people who don't want to hear it, and you know the mods are going to mute you because we don't want that shit in the chat, and you're not going to get up on stage and defend your fucking God, you are going against what the scripture tells you to do. You are a lukewarm Christian. In my opinion, in my estimation, right? But who the fuck am I, right? I'm just some evil baby eating atheist who doesn't like slavery. We have 3 calls left. All of them are atheist calls. So I'm going to ask you, my dear friend Shannon, which one do you want to talk about? There's 2 of them about evolution and one of them about morality.
Why don't you take the one about evolution and then I can go use the washroom because I'm an old woman who had a baby kick her bladder into oblivion. So, yeah.
Have fun. Yeah. Have fun pissing. I'm going to be
and
doing this.
And I'll come back and act really astonished and surprised and very impressed with whatever you're saying. Deal?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, I'll be back.
We'll start with the person who's been waiting the longest, which is Lewis, calling in all the way from Monarchy Land, who wants to ask about evolution. Lewis, you're on the line with Forrest and only Forrest. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Forrest. Yes, I'm sorry that Shannon's not going to be taking my call or pretending to be. Pretending to be.
She hates science.
Pretending to be interested. Pretending to be interested is good. That's good enough, I guess.
Right. Definitely. So you have an interesting question here. Would you please remind me? Tell me what you want to talk about.
So I wanted to know your opinion about this for quite some time. Since the last time we spoke, I thought about it. So gene mutation, gene flow, natural selection, non-random mating. What do you think? I know with a little bit, just a little caveat to add. I know that you can't really just have one without the others generally. But what do you think? If you had to like rank them just out, what do you think goes at the top or whatever?
It's hard because I want to say the most important one is mutation, which is like where we generate novelty in a lot of ways. There are other ways to get new genes, but like that's like the big one. You know what I mean? But then that doesn't do anything. It just changes and it doesn't mean anything. So like the one that's actually doing the one that's generating new stuff is largely mutation. But I think the mechanism that's really doing the work is natural selection. Because even if you're talking about genetic drift, which is random reshuffling and recombination of genes, you're still going to have selection pressure based on those combinations. And if you're talking about gene flow, bringing new alleles in, that's not going to matter if those alleles aren't suited for that environment or if they can't be randomly reshuffled through genetic drift to make a more suitable combination. And that's guided by natural selection as well. And if you just make mutations happen, all you're doing is just slowly altering DNA with no real, stress test to that, and it's just meaningless. So I think the one mechanism that really does the most heavy lifting is natural selection. And even when we go outside those four major mechanisms, epigenetics, natural selection is what determines whether or not that works, or whether or not that's useful, or whether or not that's helpful or harmful or whatever. So the biggest part of it is definitely natural selection, in my opinion. I think it is the coolest one and the one that does the most heavy lifting.
Yeah, mutation, is the most versatile. Yeah, as you say, nothing can happen without that, really. But yeah, I think that all makes pretty good sense, actually. Thank you, Forrest. Because I remember I don't expect you to remember, of course, because this was like 8 Mondays ago, but we had a little conversation about Ardipithecus. And I just thought about this. Yeah, I had a thought about this, and I thought I want to know your opinion. I might call back and ask someone. I might ask Erica at one point about it too.
If she says anything else, she's wrong. And I think the best way, Darwin, one of the ways that Darwin came up with the concept of natural selection was through Malthusian economics. And if we were to put it in economical terms, to think about this as well, like mutation is like the research and development department of a company trying to build new widgets or new whatevers. And then you've got, genetic drift in here that's actually like kind of like an assembly thing or whatever like that. And you've got gene flow, like your shipping department sending stuff out. But at the end of the day, if the widgets don't sell, the company goes bankrupt. And so the natural selection, the free market that's actually doing the purchasing, that's the actual thing that makes the whole thing worth it in the long run anyway. That's kind of a really, really bad stretched out analogy to try for people who are listening and don't know what I'm talking about. That's the way that I would frame that.
Wow, Forrest, that was really smart.
Thank you for noticing, Shannon.
You're so clever.
Anyway, Lewis, does that answer your question? Is that good enough?
That answers the question well, thank you. Is it okay if I ask you something else while I've got you on?
Yeah, let's do one more, and then we'll jump on to the next evolution call.
Yeah, I just want to, just want to be quick.
Yeah.
But it's just about I graduated biology undergrad a couple of years ago, and I've been looking at some stuff recently, and it kind of blew my mind. Like I was looking at exaptation and molecular recruitment in venom specifically, like how that's I don't know if you. We're not going to get into it too much, but is that not fascinating though? How the proteins have changed over time into venoms and toxic substances.
Yeah. And you can go even further and look at animals that use the toxins from other things and to recruit into their own bodies. One of the most complicated venom systems in the world is with slow lorises. The slow loris is the only venomous primate in the world. And the way that it does it is that it goes out and eats toxic shit, eats toxic bugs and plants and whatnot that it can process, and just stores these toxins and then can secrete them through little venom patches in near their armpits that it can then lick and then bite something with a mouthful of the venom that it's been storing. How fucking wild is that, right? And it's the same thing. It's very similar to like poison dart frogs that eat toxic shit and then they secrete those toxins through their skin. And so if you raise poison dart frogs in captivity, or even catch wild ones and keep them captive, feeding them a non-toxic diet for a few months, it purges all the toxins from their body, and now they're harmless. Same thing with slow lorises. They can be made harmless. And that's weird as fuck. And so yeah, it's this cool thing where you don't even just need this mutation selection within one organism. You can have an ecological component to it. These things can work with each other. We talked last night a little bit about endogenous retroviruses, where you can have a really complex adaptation that isn't actually adapted, it's contracted. What the fuck? So yeah, bro, it just gets better and better the more you dig into it. Venom is a really cool thing to talk about for this reason, and it's just a diving board into a toxic soup of wonderful science knowledge.
I totally agree. I did know about the slow lorises from. I think it was a talk show, and they had some animals on. And they would, I think that's how I found out about that. Yeah, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Shannon wants to dunk on some people, and so do you. So I'll let you have the rest of your evening. So
I was chilling.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Lewis. Thank you for waiting for so long, and thank you for letting me talk about something really pleasant after we had that fucking fucked up slavery call. This was a nice palate cleanser.
I was happy to give you a break. Yeah.
Thanks for giving me a chance to pee, man. I really appreciate that.
I'll call back again, and we can have a proper conversation, Shannon, about something you'd be interested in talking about. I think. Yeah.
Sure. But plus, I love look how happy Forrest is. He just lights up when he talks about this stuff. Look how adorable that is. How could I be angry? Look how happy that guy is.
Thanks so much, Lewis. Have an awesome rest of your day, dude.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. Lewis is great.
That was great. I'm assuming. What I heard.
We've got, how was the piss, by the way? We all missed out.
Oh, it was so good.
Did it go well for you? Hell yeah.
You know when you like hold it to the point that you're like, this is starting to, I'm starting to not even have to pee anymore. It's just getting uncomfortably painful.
Yeah.
I was there. I was on the cusp of that. So it was very satisfying.
I love
Thank you
that.
for asking.
I love that.
No shame.
Let's do, so we have one other question about evolution, and I feel like I can burn through it relatively quickly, and then we have something about morality, which I think would be more fun for both of us to dig into. Do you want to burn through the evolution thing quick, or do you want to burn through it at the end? What do you want to do?
Burn through it quick. We'll do the morality one. I'll keep reading the chat and throwing up nerd signs.
Yeah. Oh, hey, at Visually Defective, you should complain about it like a lot more. Like a lot more. Let's talk to Susan really quick, who wants to talk about evolution of colonial organisms. Susan, you're on the line with Forrest and Shannon. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. You guys are two of my favorite hosts. I wish I had a question worthy of Shannon. So I was curious about these colonial organisms like ant colonies, and specifically siphonophores, which are just these critters that I discovered online, and they just kind of blew my mind. So is something like that, is it like an example of like extreme symbiosis? Or how do these colonial organisms, like how does that even come about?
Yeah. So two things. First of all, hey, Alex Carson in the chat, you called 11 minutes ago. You're waiting for connection. The lines have been closed for like an hour. We said that several times. Sorry that you missed it. Call back in sometime. I host every Sunday night just about. I would love to talk to you about why slavery is bad, you fucking weirdo. Okay, so now, Susan, so what you've actually given here are two very distinct examples. But we can talk about how this all works. When we talk about colonial organisms, we're talking about things. Siphonophores are a great example. So are corals are another kind of colonial organism. You have individual zooids, individual little dudes, all lumped together to create one macroorganism. So when we talk about, like, for example, a coral, you see like this big funky coral, and what that's actually made up it's not one thing. It is 1,000 individual animals called polyps that each have their own thing going on, right? And they all work together to make this coral happen.
Kind of the fact that each zooid kind of has like its own specific function, like with the siphonophores, like certain zooids act as the digestive system, certain, like, if each of the organisms, I read that they're genetically identical, so what controls the specialized behavior of each one? Is that environmental? And then like ants aren't genetically identical, are they?
Yeah, so ants are eusocial. They're not strictly speaking colonial. They live in a colony, but they're not like a colonial thing. But they're a great way to show the distinction here. So what you got to think about with these things, a couple of things. Number one, like genetic inheritance is going to be from one individual to the next, but that's not the only way that evolution happens. We also have social evolution. And in this case, when we talk about colonial organisms, we see that like colony-specific adaptations, like colony-wide function also evolves in a way that is independent of individual evolution between the individual members. So think about, for example, when we talk about how we see multicellularity evolve. Multicellularity experiments like with algae. We'll take algae, single-celled algae, put it...
Yeah, to ask if it was more like an ant colony or more analogous to multicellularity. So, yeah.
Precisely. So, like, you have an algae that is single-celled, usually in response to predation or something like that, it will then glump together. We never get 2-celled or 3-celled organisms. We get like a 12-celled organism. And each of these things start doing their own specific job based on where they are in this lump. And when that lump reproduces as a whole, each of those individuals are reproducing to produce a new lump. You now have colonial evolution. The colony is evolving by sending off offshoots like asexual budding, for example. And those offshoots that are being sent off, they have their own selection constraints of the size and the structure and what they do. And this is where I think it's the most interesting. When you talk about ants and stuff that are these eusocial society organisms, they will police each other. They'll control each other as individuals and decide who gets to reproduce and who gets to have what job and who's doing what, right? When you have this colonial evolution, it's more like farming, where the big cluster will like create and nurture the environment necessary for the little cluster to survive in the right way.
Okay. So like it's even though they're genetically identical, it is environmental, with that kind of like stem cells, I guess, that determines how it's going to develop and what it's going to do.
More or less. And that's what you get, like, for example, with like bryophytes, non-vascular plants like moss and hornworts and liverworts. They don't have differentiated cells, but the cells on top do leaf things, and the cells on the bottom do root things. And they're not really roots and leaves. They just do those jobs, and everybody benefits because that's where they are. And so as a colony, the whole thing functions together, and that group function also can evolve in its own way. I saw you on the line because you've been on the line for almost 2 hours. And so I did find a good paper that I'm going to pop in the chat that describes everything that I talked about. It's Science Advances Evolutionary Biology, Simpson et al., published in 2020, and it's literally titled How Colonial Animals Evolve, and it goes through everything that I've talked about today and a bunch more stuff in better ways than I could ever explain it. And I think it'll be a nice jumping off point for you if you want to dig into it.
Thank you.
I just put it in the chat just now.
Thanks. Great. So I did have one other question, just a really quick one, but it's very important for both of you.
Yeah.
What is cooler, Tigons or Ligers?
I didn't hear the first one. What was the first one?
Tigons or Ligers.
What's a Tigon?
It's the same thing. It's one of them is male tiger, female lion, or
male tiger, female lion, and a liger is a male lion, female tiger as the parents.
What's the front and what's the back? Oh, we're not talking about a chimera. We're talking about all right. So
yeah, I think it depends.
No, these are actual animals. These are actual critters.
One of them has the laser cannons attached near the chest, and the other one has it attached up by the shoulders. And I'm saying shoulders all day long. I don't know, man. I've never taken the occasion to compare the two. But hybridization is neat. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh,
my vote is for Tigons, for the record.
You're saying Tigon?
Ligers are the really huge ones, so they're cool because of that. But I think Tigons just have more interesting coloring because they'll have the stripes and the mane and everything. But yeah.
Oh, they 100%. Do. Yeah, no, that is.
Yeah, I googled both.
That is pretty tight.
And I'm falling firmly Tigon.
When I was a kid, there was a place in my hometown called Safaris that it was like a roadside zoo sanctuary thing, and they had a liger that they would bring out and hold, like a bunch of dudes would hold it with chains, and you could like walk around it and stuff. Not good, not safe, but it was the 90s. And like I feel like they have a special place in my heart because of that. Yeah, dude, ligers, good dudes. I don't know.
All right, cool.
They're all
so
neat.
Forrest is just wrong. And I'll have to
Not
ask
the first
Erica
time.
her opinion at some point.
Right?
Story of my life.
Eric, thanks so much for waiting, Susan.
So
thanks for the
guys.
fun question.
Yeah, and thank you for that link. I will definitely go and give that a read.
Hell yeah. Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
You too. Have a good one.
And the last call of the night, it's gonna be Ayush calling in from Canada, who has questions about morality. What even key am I in?
I don't know. I wish I had my
Ayush!
guitar now.
You're on the line with Forrest and Shannon. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you, Forrest? How are you, Shannon?
Not too shabby.
Never had a bad day, man.
I have.
Yeah.
But today's not one of them.
Yeah, I called in about morality a little bit to quibble about definitions, which I know it's not something that you prefer doing, particularly getting too deep into the philosophical arguments. And just for the record, I agree largely with your conclusions about theism.
Why would you think that I don't enjoy getting into philosophical arguments? I mean, that's
I
beside
don't.
the point. But,
she
okay.
loves it. She's all about that shit, yo.
All about that philosophical bullshit.
I thought I would call in because I study ethics, and I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation about some of these terms. Just for the record, I'm trying to steelman a little bit of the theist position, because I think that the way in which we are treating subjective morality often has the side effect of making ethics largely about psychology. And that's not how a lot of theists or even atheists would argue. So maybe I can share where I disagree with your opinion, and you can tell me whether we agree or disagree about that.
Sure, I hate psychology. I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first I think point of difference is, and you can tell me if I got this correctly. When we are talking about morality, it seems that sometimes we are talking about moral facts, like or moral statements, like murder is wrong or rape is wrong, versus sometimes we seem to be talking about what the grounds for morality are. The murder is wrong because ultimately, as I explain this statement, the kind of beginning of my explanation, that the question is about whether that is subjective or objective. And I think we tend to use subjective or objective for both of these things, but it might be useful to separate these out.
So if you're talking about the grounding of morality as a concept, which is what most theists are talking about, they're talking about the grounding.
Right.
They're not talking about murder is right or wrong, yes and no. They're saying the reason morals exist at all is that they're objectively grounded in God. That's what they're saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I would like to
I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding where I disagree with you here, or where you think I disagree with you here.
No, I just wanted to check if we could focus more on the grounds. I just wanted to clarify this distinction, because it might be useful for me later in what I'm trying to argue for.
Okay, I understand the distinction.
Okay. And then if I go ahead with the kind of argument that Forrest was making, which was morality seems to require conscious beings or beings with minds. I agree with that, but that does not necessarily entail that morality is subjective, partly because we can locate the grounds of morality in something that is also something that's necessary for conscious beings to exist in the first place. what
Okay, so you and I will probably
philosophically has
disagree
been-
there. Like, so you study ethics, right? Now,
Yeah.
you're saying that you subscribe to like a different theory of morality philosophically than I do. I think that I would probably be classified as a non-cognitivist.
I see. Yeah.
Right. So
if
you and
I
I could
take-
quibble about that, but that doesn't mean that I don't understand it. It means that I subscribe to a different theory of morality than you do, I think.
Right. And then I would completely agree with you. I think it's more important than to spell out those positions, because then a stronger theist argument can be.
Well, if he
not
would shut
that-
the fuck up, I would have, but he never did. I wish we could have gotten to that minutia, bud. That's not the way that conversation went.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, that conversation was tough to sit through. But then the stronger theist argument would then be not that morality is grounded in the mind of God or in the judgment of God or in thoughts that God has, but probably
it's the
something
nature, which I
more
brought up.
inclusive, like the
They would say
nature
the
of
nature.
God. Yes. And
Yeah.
I wonder how you then talk about that or argue about that, because and just to tell you where I'm coming from, as an atheist, I often have to teach in classrooms which are filled with theists, and often that's not just a theological conversation that we are having or an ethical conversation we are having, but a political conversation that we also have, because religion often stratifies us or stratifies society in terms of politics. So I have had issues with how best to communicate a certain kind of ethical position without making it as if I am politically undermining my students.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So if somebody was to then make this argument that morality is grounded in the nature of God, how would you go about arguing against that?
Okay, perfect. So I'm not sure if you listened to the initial call for it was probably difficult to listen to, but at one point in time I asked him, like flat out, do you ground morality in God's nature? And he went off on a tangent and basically ignored the question, and so we didn't get to that. And one of the reasons that I did that was because I wanted to walk him into the strongest possible position from my perspective. Like from a theistic perspective, I was trying to handhold him and slowly walk him into the strongest possible position. But he wouldn't come with me. He slapped my hand away. And the reason that I wanted to do that is because I actually still don't think from the strongest position, in my perspective, that's the strongest position, is to say that morality is grounded in God's nature. Now, if you say morality is grounded in God's nature, you still have all of the work to do to get to how we access what is or isn't moral. So let's say that you say that there is a God and that morality is his nature. If morality is his nature, you would have to then just accept that everything that he does is moral, right? And you would agree that there's things in the Bible from the Christian perspective that aren't moral. But even if you ignore the Bible, even if you go to like a deistic perspective or another religion, like you don't need it to be Christianity. If you just say there is a God and morality is his nature, how do we access it? How do we access it?
Right.
Like that's what I would want an answer to. If you say morality is grounded in its nature, okay, cool. How do we know what his nature is?
Right.
What does that mean?
I think though that there is also a more implicit question hidden here, which is the question of if I have to answer not just how do we access God in this case or God's nature in this case, but how do we access
how do we access what morality is? How do we know?
Right. I'm saying that question has a more implicit there's a more implicit question here of what other discipline should I engage with in order to answer a question about morality. So if I go down this route, then I would say that theology is very relevant to ethics. Versus if I go down, a route which says morality is.
So once you inject theology, the answer becomes even more complex for you, right? Because you're going to have to, like, you're going to say what, like with the Christianity, you would have to explain why there's contradictory actions. So if morality is God's nature, why is murder okay and not okay? Like if his nature is morality, he can't do anything that's against his nature, which means that you would have to say that killing babies is moral. Like you would have to accept that.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
No.
And there
Yes,
could be no contradictions. Any contradictions in his actions where something is okay in one scenario and not okay in another scenario. You would have to accept that contradiction completely undermines saying that it's his nature, because his nature can't exist in a contradictory state.
No, and I agree with that. What I was trying to point out is if I were, let's say, the most progressive theist out there or a deist out there, I would simply say that maybe theology hasn't caught up to be able to answer the question like this. Maybe theology is a live discipline.
But how do you act as a moral? How do you act morally then? If theology hasn't caught up, and what if it never gets caught up? How do we know that you still don't know what is or isn't moral then, if theology hasn't caught up, in order to give you that answer?
I still cannot explain what is or what is not moral, which does not mean that I have any problem acting morally in the world or having some intuitions about what morality is. And I can give you probably an analogy here. For somebody who looks at, let's say, evolutionary theory and talks about the, grounds morality in evolutionary processes, they might not be able to explain how every single moral intuition came to be. That does not stop them from acting morally in the world. It's just that they will say, evolution or the way in which we look at the connections between evolution and morality is a life discipline. We will eventually know, or we hope to eventually know. But the implicit question I was talking about is that it also seems to politically center some discipline as being more related to ethics than others. And a constant question that, as atheists, we might have to run up against is, do I allow people to center theology in relation to ethics, or should I focus on science, and particularly, let's say, evolutionary science, or should I focus on something like the study of human nature and so on?
I don't think that theology should be the center of the study of ethics at all, because I don't think that you can derive any answers, because you're already trying to jam ethics and the concept of morality into a pre-existing framework. So you're confined. So my preference would be, not that anything's up to me, I'm not in charge of anything, but the way that I operate is I see morality as a human created concept. Like we've kind of defined it into existence, and it's a way to describe how we would like to see things operate. And thus we don't have access to what is or is not moral in any tangible way. We have to have discussions about how societal frameworks should exist and what those outcomes are, and whether those outcomes are or are not beneficial. That I think is the broader framework that it should exist within. And I think that there's a robust enough avenue for discussion within that framework that it could keep you occupied for ages. And we can acknowledge that many theistic systems have contributed to the formation of that concept without trying to jam the concept itself or assign ownership of the concept into the theistic paradigm. I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think that morality is demonstrably through time something that has evolved as societies has evolved to better suit us and benefit the most people, which is why you see society kind of ebbing and flowing, but gradually, ultimately improving over time. And it's because we're able to have those conversations and make those deliberations and assess things outside of that paradigm, even while acknowledging that some of the aspects of what we're discussing did come from those thinkers and did come from theism. Like it would be ignorant to say that through the history of humanity, that what we currently discuss as morality hasn't had contributions from all religions and societies throughout time. That's just a fact of the matter, I think. But that doesn't mean that we need to confine ourselves to just those theistic paradigms in order to continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you disagree with that?
No, I think I should say I would love to agree with that. It's just that I can see that a strongly theist position or a strong theist would not be very convinced with that argument in the sense that what we seem to be doing with this argument is we are saying, look, this is the kind of metaphysics that I'm tied up within. This is the kind of way in which I look at the world. And that obviously, if you do not share that, then you will never agree with my position. And I think we have to be okay with that. And to that extent, I completely agree with you.
So is the position that you're taking that you want to shift people who you see as being theists, or at least holding a theistic conceptualization or of what a moral framework is? You want to be able to operate within that framework to at least shift them towards something that's less harmful or better. Let's just say better. And you don't think that they're going to go all the way to just abandoning theism entirely and becoming, a super awesome non-cognitivist like I am. But because you want to make sure that, people are better and you can't just deconvert everybody. So how do you, so this is what Bart, so Bart Ehrman actually just wrote a book just about this type of thing. And I'll tell you what I saw happening almost instantaneously, because he had the same sort of inclination that you did. And I think that it's a good one. And I laud him for it, because what he's doing makes sense to me. And I think that he is attempting to do good. So he wrote a book that is essentially about how our moral systems did utilize Christianity and using the words of Jesus, and he's going on apologetics channels essentially to try to promote this book, because his hopes are, and I do think that this is like a good inclination, that he's going to get in front of people who, in his mind, potentially, and this is just speculation, but this is what I'm perceiving it as, in his mind, maybe aren't making the best choices for society right now because of the way that Christianity is framed in America and how it's being used as a cudgel to discriminate against people or to justify atrocities, and to show them that within Christianity, that's not even what Jesus said, and that they should maybe adopt that framework, because that's better than what's happening. And you're not going to get them all to deconvert, but if you can get them to see a better version of Christianity, of the moral framework of Christianity, then maybe you can move the needle societally and have things improve. But what's happening instead is, when he's going on these Christian channels, they're using this as an opportunity to just try to own him about how he wouldn't, because he's an atheist, he wouldn't understand anything about morality anyway, because he has no objective standard. So, why should anybody listen to what he has to say about morality? And because he's an atheist, why should anybody listen to what he has to say about Jesus? And I'm not sure the book is necessarily getting in front of those people, because he's being framed as a villain who's trying to say that this isn't what is this isn't who he is, but this is what is happening. This is how the apologists are framing it. That this atheist who's been antagonistic to Christianity is now trying to tell you how to be a Christian. And who does he think he is? So it's hard to say. I think everything happens on an individual basis. And I think that you can have a conversation about what morals are. And if you're a thinking person and you're listening, you can even, within the Christian framework, hear the logic in what I'm saying. So I'm not going to try to exist within a theistic paradigm just because I think it might resonate. I'm going to be honest about what I think instead. and hope that it resonates with people, regardless of what their theistic or non-theistic bent is, or whether they have no theistic inclinations at all. I'm going to say what I think and why, and just give people the credit that regardless of what their existing belief is now or their existing framework, if what I say makes sense, then it makes sense. Like, why not just operate with trying to find the best moral system instead of trying to figure out a way to make a flawed moral system seem slightly less flawed? I don't know what that does.
I see. Sorry.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And possibly, as Bart does, pulling in from various different traditions, but without the baggage that those traditions might hold.
Yeah, like I think that, like I said, you'd be intellectually dishonest if you said nothing about the way that moral systems are understood today had anything to do with any religion ever. It's all just human nature. You could go all the way down to the base, because I think that humans created religions, but that they were a good delivery system, inarguably so. They were a good delivery system because people will conform to a religion so that they can be a part of the in-group, and power structures historically use religions to, control mass groups of people by giving them commands that seem to have even a higher authority than them. And so they're effective delivery systems. Now, does that mean that there was nothing good in any of them ever? I don't think that anybody could honestly say that. And if they do say that, then they're just being either purposefully obtuse or genuinely obtuse. But that doesn't mean that they have ownership of what morality is. And I don't think pretending like they do does humanity a service. I think that we're better off just talking about what morals and ethics actually are. And if people are listening, really listening, not just listening to argue back, but listening because they want to engage with the subject matter, they'll think about it, potentially disagree, but at least have a good conversation about it and look into it more, and that might move the needle. But that doesn't happen unless we have genuine, honest conversations about what we actually think morals are, as opposed to trying to meet people where they're at or whatever. I don't ever feel like placating people in that regard. Like it seems almost like condescending to me. Like if I was a Christian still, and somebody was saying, well, I heard them elsewhere talking about like what their moral system is, or if I asked them, let's just say, what's your moral system? And they were an atheist, they wouldn't say I adhere to like a moral system that's based in Christianity. They would say what their actual moral system is. So if they're talking to me about morality as though it's based in that system, that would seem as though they're like you're giving me head pats, and I wouldn't be receptive to that either, because I would feel condescended to, and that'll immediately shut most people down. I would just have an honest, robust conversation with them, hear what they think and why. Theists are people with brains.
Right.
We don't need to speak to them differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to check in about the book by Oman that you were referring to. Is it Love Thy Stranger?
Yeah, I think that's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
A good read. I'm not knocking Bart. I just feel bad for how he's trying to do a good thing, and they're just using it as an opportunity to frame him as an enemy, even though he probably makes better points that are more based in the Bible than any of the people he's speaking with.
Yeah. I'll definitely read this book, and I think what you just said is pedagogically very useful as well. So I'll probably try it in some of my classrooms and see how that goes.
Good luck. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, and thanks a lot, Shannon. If I have some insights, I'll reach out again when you're online.
Good luck pinning me down, man. What? Check back once every couple of months. I make an appearance.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Forrest.
Yeah, Forrest, would you shut up? God, Forrest, stop talking.
I got a couple of evolution calls. I wanted you to do this one about philosophy and whatnot. But yeah, Ayush, it was cool. It was productive. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks.
That
Bye.
was my palate cleanser. Thank you.
Bye. I drew a little guy.
I need a
As
whiteboard.
moral Marvin. He wears nice sweaters and he doesn't like slavery. As that's what I was doing while you were talking about the stuff you were talking about. I drew this little guy. He's great.
I'm glad one of us was doing something productive. We'll leave it up to the audience to determine which one. But I vote
which
you.
do you prefer? Oh, flip, dude. Hey, we got super chats. Didn't you know the show ain't over yet? You fucking dweebs. You thought you were out of the woods. Not so lucky.
Being held hostage.
Peter Thiel is trying to argue that AI could be the Christian God. Of course, he stands to benefit from that as he appeals to fascists. You fuck, man. Just fuck.
Just fuck indeed. That's my moral system. Just fuck.
Yeah.
Or
Essentially.
Essentially, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's entailed, obviously.
Are we trading back and forth? Unless you fucking believe in the Bible. Are we trading back and forth? What are we doing?
Oh, I don't know. You're in charge. I was just going to make a joke.
Yeah. we can tag team back and forth. I'm down with that.
Okay, cool. 5 pounds is from Babs Barrett 07. In the beginning was the word, and the word was oops. I know what I like to try to figure out which calls they're attached to, and I think that one's pretty clear. That was called. That was the world may or may not have been created. Could have been an accident.
$10 from Guzman Jones. I just got handed 2 wins. I get to keep my home thanks to the folks who gave me the encouragement. I got dark a few times. Love you all genuinely. Congratulations on this success. I didn't know things were going on, but I'm glad you got through it.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah. If you're going through hell, keep going. Never about just keep on standing. This fucking nerd.
Aw, he's so cute. I was gonna make a joke earlier about Swifter guy. I was gonna say let's get Swifty, but it's a Rick and Morty Rick and Morty joke, and now I have an opportunity to say Rick and Morty did Ryan's theory better with the car battery universe episode.
Yup.
I like Rick and Morty.
Yup. $10 from Ray Gatto. Shannon, it might be a great year for the Tiger Cats. Then again, it might not be. Hope they take the Grey Cup to Hamilton. Hashtag Canadian Football League. I don't think any of those words are real. But I just want to point out that it might be a great year and it might not be. You have now covered all possibilities. It is unfalsifiable, and therefore the Tiger Cats are God. That's what we've learned today. Yep.
Yes. May or may not be. They could have invented AI. They could be AI. They could be part of the infinite AI regression.
Yep.
All right, $5 from Duskframe7331. Does Shannon Q have an evil doppelganger called Shannon A? No, not that I'm aware
Shannon
of.
P.
Is that
it's
the doppelganger?
P's and Q's, right?
Or it could be Q and A.
That's a good question. Fuck. Yeah, all right, yeah. No,
And
I didn't think about Q&A.
Nope, sorry,
We're
one
all
of me's
learning.
too many already. More than the world can handle.
$5 from Joshua Everett. I'm convinced that no conservative/religious man has ever heard the end of a sentence started by a woman. I mean, like, no is a pretty short sentence, and they just ignore it. So, but I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just because I love prisons so much. That's the only reason he couldn't listen to me. And I have no morals. I don't even understand. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. And prison is synonymous with slavery, apparently.
They're the same thing, Forrest. We keep trying to explain
Literally
it to you. I don't
the
know
same.
why you won't listen.
But only here in the land of the free.
Yes, where they're for profit, which is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Get me started. I'll go on a tangent. All right. $9.99 from FancyWire7606. You think so? Then take the universe and grind it down to the finest powder and sieve it through the finest sieve and then show me one atom of justice, one molecule of mercy. Terry Pratchett.
That's a hell of a
didn't do that quote justice. It is good.
That's a hell of a quote. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
I've heard that name before. Terry Pratchett. That's Discworld or whatever, right?
I think so. Everything I hear about him makes me think that I need to read the works.
That's what I keep saying. I hear many things, and he says interesting stuff, and I don't know what anything is. Well, I've got him pulled up. Sir Terence David John Pratchett, an English author, humorist, and satirist, best known for the Discworld series of 41 comic fantasy novels published between 1983 and 2015. Well, I'm going to look up that because I'm pretty sure there's a cartoon.
Very cool.
Am I reading this one? Yes.
Yes.
I'm putting
Sorry, I was
Discworld.
looking at
There we
Terry
go.
Pratchett books.
$5. One of the most dishonest people I've heard in ages. How interesting he seems pro-abortion, though. After you read after you read that passage, it's just might makes right.
Yeah. The dissonance that must bring up though too, because you have to out of one side of your mouth say no, it's never okay, but also it is okay when God
If
does
God
it.
does it.
Yeah, it's just. But then, where are you getting your morals from? Like, I don't understand it. You can't have it both ways. All right, SGD 698. I don't know what SGD is in actual currency.
It's like $5, something like that. I didn't look it up today.
Oh no, I wasn't looking. I just don't know what SGD. Like,
Thanks
I don't know
for
what
the
country's currency
$6.98 and suck good dicks. I really appreciate it, Max.
It's Singapore dollars.
Oh, okay, cool. Now I know. Your God would be ashamed of you if she existed, Jeremiah. That's one of my favorite things to say to the transphobes that are arguing because of Christianity, that are arguing that bodies make gender. They're functionally saying bodies make gender, biology makes gender. Okay, why is God a he?
Right? Does God have a Y chromosome? Does God have a penis? Does God have a Wolfian developmental pathway?
Yeah. What size are his gametes exactly?
$5 from Jack Cup. Hey, Forrest, are you guys ever going to restock the Never Have a Bad Day coffee mug? Just curious. Mine broke. That's not up to me. That's up to Jimmy Snow. And you're lucky you had one to break. Jimmy sent me one that was fucking broken. Then that's the only one I've ever received. But yeah, no, that's not my area. I have my own gift shop, ValkaiMerch.com. Everything on the line is run by Jimmy. I just work here. I don't run the thing.
If stuff is out of stock but is still showing up on our page, then it's probably at the fulfillment center that there's an issue with their stock.
Hey,
so we have zero control over it.
Sweetie Squad in the chat. I would love to talk to you about transgenderism. Call in sometime.
Ditto.
Instead of being a coward and waiting until we're done with the show and just reading super chats at the end, pick up that phone next time you see my stupid, ugly face on screen, 720-619-2288. Let's talk about the science of sex and gender and what it means to be an atheist and understand evidence. It'll be a lot of fun. I host every week, usually, sometimes. I'm on next week. I'm on Sunday. This Sunday, the 21st, I should actually just pull up the whole schedule. I'm on this Sunday, the 21st, at 7 p.m., and I'm on Monday, a week from today, at 6 p.m. Call in either of those days, and let's talk about what it means to be an atheist that believes in transgenderism. I would love to see you put your money where your mouth is. I'm going to pull the schedule up really quick while you read this one.
Sounds good. I host 3 to 5 times a year, so good luck finding me. Speaking of, $20 from 725 Kelly Bean. Love it when Shannon is on fire. Thank you. I don't enjoy being on fire as much as I used to.
Tomorrow we've got Chewed Gum with Taylor and Alyssa. Then we got on the 17th is the Hang Up with Matt and John. Then we've got TACIS with Lux and Mama Meffy. Then we've got Devangelicals on the 20th with Dalton and Thinker. All the way back around to next Sunday, the 21st. We got Matt and Owen on the day show, myself and Austin Archer on the night show, and then SkepTalk with me and Blitz a Sunday from now on the 22nd. So tune in for all those things. And if you are a tweeter hanging out in the chat, talking about how stupid this show is and how we don't understand Jesus or gender or whatever the fuck else, call the motherfuck in, because nobody wants to hear you bitch in the chat. 10 theoretical Canadian dollars, 10 colorful ass dollars,
Real money
from Piriform, to all us godless heathens who don't follow Jeremiah's moral system. Hell yeah.
What moral system? What moral system?
Might makes right.
I don't
Might
think
makes
you
right is the
articulated
moral
one.
system.
Oh, goodness gracious. $5 from Good Question 7915. Wait! Don't hate the Bible. It's a great source of fun, like Harry Potter and his flying sweeping device.
And you know what? Supporting the Bible and supporting the Harry Potter franchise, you're supporting transphobia either way, it turns out as well.
Indeed. Indeed.
Fiona Anstain sent $10. The slaughter of the Amalekites took place almost 400 years after they attacked the Israelites in the Sinai. They were absolutely not at war at the time. And also, even if they were, killing babies for war is a bad thing to do. So, like, that it is just genocide. It is just genocide. And it's a bad time. It's a bad time to talk about and to defend.
Exactly. $4.99 from Delaney Dymek. Hey, Forrest, just wondering if you have any book recs for an undergrad anthro student focusing on human evolution and upper paleo era. Sorry. You guys rock. Oh, it's book time.
You don't know what we do.
Too bad Erica's out this month.
I got this one. This was my textbook for bioanthro for learning human evolution. It's Our Origins by Clark Spencer Larson. This is the 5th edition that I use. I'm sure there's a newer one out right now. What I always recommend people do if you want to buy textbooks, and you should because they're handy, get on Amazon, find a good one, get on Amazon, find the newest edition, and then go one edition back, because very often they just rearrange 2 chapters or whatever to make it a new edition, and then it's $500 more. So this one, when I was in school for this, our professor reminded us the bioanthro field moves so fast that, like, she was like, by the time we're done with the semester, some part of this book will be out of date. And indeed it was. We got to a certain point. She's like, hey, remember in chapter 15, we talked about this thing? They learn new stuff, and it turns out there's more to learn now. So you are gonna have that situation, but it's a good, like, there's some of this stuff that isn't gonna fucking change, like the primatology aspect, the general big strokes of human evolution aren't gonna, like, there's a lot of good information that you can pull from this. So I recommend this one because I liked it a lot. But just you know, do you, yo. I don't know why this person was timed out talking about black mold. Talking about she sucks.
$5 from William Mattes, 1991. Jeremiah isn't a see you next Tuesday. Those are warm, soft, useful, and pretty. Literally, he is none of those things. All right, fair enough. We've lost Forrest to the bookshelf.
Well, I was gonna find something else, but like, I don't know what anything is. The Guzman Jones sent another $5. Oh, Forrest brags about safaris. I grew up 10 miles from frickin' Tiger King.
Oh.
I went there for my birthday. Man, what the hell? He was not cool. It is crazy how much shit those roadside zoos and whatnot got away with back in the day. And like, I'm glad they came very far, but like, they just keep, they're just bad. I like someone in the chat says, I like Harry Potter and support trans. Forrest is tweaking again. Just in case you're being serious, it's okay to like a story, but J.K. Rowling has publicly stated every fucking dollar she gets in royalties from this stuff, she is actively donating. She is tithing to anti-trans organizations and political organizations that are trying to pass anti-trans laws and deliberately hurt trans people. Specifically, she is actively hateful to trans people. She goes out of her way to say dumb, ignorant, hurtful, ridiculous shit about trans people, and she donates tons of money to anti-trans hate organizations to push anti-trans legislation and to harm trans people. And she has said over and over, when she publishes this new book, when she publishes this new game, when she publishes this new play, when she publishes this new movie, whatever it is, she's going to take the percentage of that royalty and put it into hurting trans people. So it's okay to like a story. If you want to go buy at a used bookstore secondhand, look and get, okay, have fun. I think they fucking suck a lot of the ways. She named the one black fucking wizard Kingsley Shacklebolt. What are we doing? But, like, at the end of the day, if you want to like a story, like a story. And if you want to pirate a game, pirate a game. But if you are giving money to this woman in any way, you are contributing to that shit. And you have to deal with that moral gray area. Is it like Chick-fil-A, where it's morally meh? And like, yeah, you can say it's going to these things, but technically it isn't, and you have to play those again, roll those dice, and decide, oh, fuck it, and or just avoid it. We're not going to Target because they're assholes. They're anti-DEI, and yet if you drink a Coca-Cola, you're still supporting fucking genocide. So like, you just have to be cognizant of this reality and not pretend like it's all just whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be on a moral high horse here. I'm just telling you, like, you can't just say, oh, fuck it, I'll just do this and support this person who is directly doing the harm right now and then pretend that isn't happening. Anyway,
there's no such thing as making an ethical purchase in a capitalistic system like ours. There just isn't. Right. There isn't a way to do it, but there are ways to make decisions to send a message to people who are explicitly stating that they're going to do harm. Yes.
Right.
So, like, you could say that if I buy a shirt, there's no way of knowing that it wasn't made by child labor. Maybe there isn't, or maybe it was and I didn't know. But if I did know, I would stop.
Yeah.
Right? If I did know it was actively causing harm, I would stop. I would make another decision. And when somebody is explicitly stating that they're going to use the funds from the thing you're purchasing to cause harm, and then you purchase it anyway, you are saying you're at the very least complicit in that harm. And more likely, actively participating in it and being completely apathetic. Like, you just don't care if that community is harmed. And if that's the type of person you are, fine. Like, just accept that that's the type of person you are. Forrest and me saying that we won't do it and that we don't think it's ethically right to do it, I stand 10 toes down on that. And if you want to be that type of person, then look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. And if you like the answer, neat. And if you don't, then that's a you problem. Anyway, sorry. Next thing.
Be more like Marvin is what I'm saying.
Marvin doesn't do slavery. He doesn't do transphobia.
Marvin doesn't support J.K. Rowling. He's like, oh no, that's gonna hurt good people. I don't want to do that. You know, that's it. Just get a good sweater, slap on a smile, and don't support transphobes.
Be like Marvin.
Easy. Be like Marvin.
In a world filled with J.K. Rowlings, be a Marvin. All right, $5 from Legally Mod. After the 2024 election, I'm really leaning into the tyranny of low expectations with most conservatives. I don't think they're complex thinkers. I don't think that's necessary because I think Project 2025 is a very complex framework that was put together by conservatives that takes a lot of the ways that systems operate and how to usurp them through conformism and information control. I think you need to be a complex thinker in order to be able to come up with and enact that effectively. By and large, I don't think people in general are complex thinkers, or at least not taught to think complexly. That doesn't mean that they don't have the aptitude for it. I think our educational system is being slowly withered away just to train people for the workforce and not to train them how to, think, how to discern information. And as a result of that, we're being, placated by media and don't know how to do source methodology or discern information. And that doesn't mean that you don't have an aptitude. It means that that's how you've been brainwashed into existing and what you're willing to accept. I don't know. Maybe Forrest thinks differerently.
I actually wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the chat over here. The dickhole in the chat talking about how transgender surgeries due to. I host every Sunday and Monday this month. We're talking about capitalism, right?
Kind of, yeah. We're talking
saying that one of my favorite ways that I've heard it phrased was seeing people looking at people living under capitalism and then saying that it is in our nature to be greedy is like looking at humans underwater and saying that it is in their nature to drown. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Just like it's what people are trained up into and brought up into and brainwashed into. I think humans are generally good by nature, and if you make them live in a system where, as we saw in this thing, as you make them live in a system where might makes right, and the big strong man in the side says slavery is okay, then it is. Normal human beings wouldn't be that way. You have to give them that and tell them that this is acceptable, and fuck with their heads to make them act that way. Same thing with this. Normal human beings would not prioritize pieces of paper over the lives, health, safety, food security of children. Normal human beings wouldn't prioritize lines drawn on a map over the freedoms and equalities of individual humans. Normal human beings would not prioritize gender roles from the fucking Bronze Age over equality of sexes and races and whatever other things that we're talking about here. You have to give them those things. And capitalism's really good at doing that, and religion's really good at doing that. So fuck those systems. Shannon, I was psyched to hear that you're obsessed with Tudor history. Do you have a favorite Tudor influential figure and Boleyn enthusiast? Like a math tutor or like a science tutor?
Well, I like Tudor England. So Tudor goes from Henry VII all the way to Elizabeth. Like that's the end of the Tudor line, kind of, because James, who like you get the King James Bible from, he was actually Henry's sister Margaret's like great grandson, the son of Mary Queen of Scots, who Elizabeth actually killed. So it's hard to pick. Like Anne Boleyn, okay, sure. I do very, very, very much like so 1 second, I'm just gonna do it. So it is Catherine, Anne, Jane, Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard, and then the last Catherine Parr. I like Catherine Parr. So I think that his last wife, Catherine, actually has the most interesting story of all the wives. And because she's the one who survived. And then she actually ended up marrying Edward Seymour, who is Jane Seymour's brother, who was the uncle of the then king, Edward, Henry's only son, who was born by Jane Seymour, who died shortly after, and somewhat made, well, not somewhat, he had already declared that Elizabeth and Mary were illegitimate, but Catherine helped to bring them back in and convinced Henry to like re-legitimize them, and then took Elizabeth in, and on top of taking Elizabeth in, also had brief custody of Jane, Jane Grey, who was the 9 Days Queen, who was queen after Edward died because they wanted to keep the Mary, who was Catholic, away from the throne and install a Protestant like puppet ruler, but it backfired because Mary ruled it. But anyway, I think that Catherine Parr's story is really, really interesting because she had influence over a king and 2 queens, because she had Edward and Elizabeth, 3 queens, if you're counting Jane. Anyway, I think her story is really, really interesting. She ended up passing away after giving birth to her daughter, who just disappears in history because her and Edward Seymour had a daughter. She just disappears in history because Catherine passes away. And then shortly after that, Edward tries to get custody of Elizabeth because he's going to use her as a pawn, and then ends up getting like executed because he tries to kidnap the king and then kills his dog. And then anyway, so I think her story and everything surrounding that is the most convoluted and interesting. Anyway, sorry, Forrest. Somebody asked me about Tudor Stuart England, and I went off on a tangent. But I think Catherine Parr. That's my answer. Final answer.
Thrones, yeah. Game of Thrones, yeah. Game of Thrones, Game of fucking Thrones, Game of fucking Thrones, Game of fucking Thrones, Game of fucking Thrones, Thrones, yeah. Game of fucking Thrones, Game of fucking Thrones, Game of fucking, you know what I mean? Hey, Lux, would you please check the thing in the Discord and maybe send it over to Kalazi if you have their info.
You gotcha.
4-9. Was that? I appreciate whatever you just said.
You gotcha.
Hell yeah. 4.99 fancy wire. Death. Humans need fantasy to be human. To be the place where the falling angel meets the rising ape. Another part of the quote from Terry Pratchett. Hell yeah. I'm into that. I'm gonna get all over this whole Terry Pratchett thing someday. I've been getting into Harlan Ellison a little bit. I read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream recently, like a year ago. I don't know. And it was phenomenal, and it was great, and now I want to get into more little things.
Cool. $5 from SJL. Morality doesn't come from religion. It comes from us trying to live as a society. Religion is co-opted as an enforcement mechanism. I mean, I think that's fair. Like I said, it's like it's an effective delivery system for mass control and rule adherence. It's an effective delivery system for that. Like that's inarguable. Otherwise, it would have, bred out of us.
My favorite way, as I've ever heard it described, is that religion is a domestication tool for humans. And I like thinking about, you know what I mean?
I like that. I don't know where that came from, but I like it.
There's it was actually my lithics professor in grad school. It described it that way, and I love that. And to the people in chat, yes, those are the official lyrics to the Game of Thrones theme song, and you will never be able to hear it again without hearing that. That's what it is.
There goes our copyright.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, yeah, Game of Thrones. $10 from what that darn it, Miss Shannon. So glad to see more of you on the line. Hi, Paul. Love you all. I'm not Paul, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's whatever.
I think he was briefly in the chat. He's probably writing a book or something right now. Who knows what he does?
Or they expect you to pass the message along, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm not a secretary. You can either hear or not. $10 from John Stephen Albert. Terry Pratchett was the greatest British fantasy writer who ever lived, bar none. There's a lot of endorsement for Terry Pratchett here. Like, I'm feeling like I need to go down a rabbit hole after this.
Quit sucking Terry Pratchett's dick in the chat. Everybody calm down about Terry Pratchett. I don't know what's going on.
I wish I could make time go faster because I'm in the middle of 2 audiobooks already, and I want to make room for another one, but I physically don't have enough time.
You have to put one in one earphone and then download another one and have 2 earphones going simultaneously.
I'll go get my Corpus Colossum separated so that I can listen to 2 books at the same time.
Well, unfortunately, your Wernicke's area is only on one lobe of your brain, so that's going to be hard to do, but that's okay.
Well, they can read with one side and listen with the other. It'll be fine.
That's fair. They could. You're gonna have to hold the book to your left-hand side so that it's
right,
because your optic chiasm is going to split it too. So you need to make sure it's fully in your left visual field.
My reading eye patch.
Right.
Yeah, so that it'll go to the right side of your brain.
Eye patch.
That's right. And your earphone on the left. All right, $5 from the Fuzzy Logic. J.K. Rowling literally sponsored the court case that is mandating bioessentialism in UK law. Britain wouldn't be TERF Island if not for the Harry Potter royalties. Yep, she is infusing all of her vast wealth into organizations that are vastly, vastly bigoted. And some of them are even masquerading as organizations that do science, and they're becoming consultants within government agencies because they're operating under the shroud of being consulting agencies when really they're just transphobic organizations that exist for the sole purpose of legislating trans bodies.
Yep.
So cool. I'm glad that you like her books. Neat.
Turf Island is a great name for the UK, by the way. $4.99 from Scotty Bice. Thank you both. Hashtag well hung plowboy. Scotty Bice, go to bed. You're done. You're done for the night. Go to bed. I don't know if you know this story.
I do not. Do I want to?
So we did a show. Seth, Erica, and I did a live show here in Tulsa. And one part of the show was that we read some of our hate mail. We read some of our hate comments that we get. And one person who really doesn't like me and left a lot of just crazy comments about, you know, calling me all sorts of names and all sorts of crazy things. One of this person spent time in their life to do this, wrote an entire song that she posted on my YouTube channel, an entire song that she wrote at the lyrics and put it in a comment with like music note emojis to signify this is meant to be sung about me fucking a horse. And the whole song was that I am a well-hung plowboy. And that was the song. And if you want to hear the whole song, you'll have to just go to whatever the next live show is. But apparently this person saw our show in Tulsa and wanted to bring that up in front of however many thousands of people are watching this episode right now and get that out there in the ether. And so now I can't avoid it, and I'm just going to have to tell everybody that that's a thing that happened. And here's the crazy part. I can't show it. Well, it's a hidden comment.
But you can see it. You could take
I can show you the screenshots.
Send it to me. You can send it to me. You can text me that song so that I can write music to it and record myself singing it.
Don't. And here's the crazy thing. That's not the first time that's happened. There have been, there is at least 2 occasions where it's somebody else wrote fucking a nursery rhyme about me having sex with the trans person. It began hickory dickory dock. I'll let you fill in the rest. And again, these are human beings that are spending their times and creative faculties. Their creative outlet is imagining me in sexual situations in order to hate me. And I don't know how to get through to these people that the call is coming from inside the house. Like it's weirder than you think. And don't is what I'm saying. Don't be like Marvin. Marvin doesn't write songs and nursery rhymes about bestiality for creators that he doesn't like. And also slaves doesn't do that either. Be like Marvin.
Yeah. And Marvin also recognizes that having sex with a trans person isn't insulting. It's just a thing people consensually do in the course of normal human interaction.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's weird. The comments I get are strange. And every now and then, if anybody out there doesn't have a YouTube channel, what you can do is you go into your YouTube studio and you click on community and it shows you all the comments. And if you want to have a bad day, you click where it says published. Those are all the public comments, and you can go to unpublished. And those are the ones that YouTube automatically filters out because they think that the AI flags it as something that probably shouldn't be out there. And a lot of the time it's right. And that's where you find the slurs, and that's where you find the ridiculous hate speech, and that's where you find the songs about you fucking a horse. And so just don't go in there if you're a YouTuber. It's a crazy place to be.
Indeed.
Well, that darn it sent $20 more to say the 2 of you are my spirit animals. You're the wind beneath my wings. Watch me as I soar. Tell Paul hi. Do it. She'll write the note and leave it on a coffee table that doesn't exist.
I have something similar to a coffee table now. It's a long story. Like, yeah, I can't get into it. Did we read this? Yes, we did. Sorry, I got disconnected because you made my 80.
No, this person just sent it again to say best money I've ever spent. Love you. Hashtag well hung. I told you to go to bed, sir.
Indeed.
Oh, and that's the last one. That's the note we're ending on? Fuck you. That's... Somebody send a doll. It's clean the palette. There we go. There. Piriform sent $10 to say hashtag what would Marvin do. That's good. That's all we need. That's the last super chat. And that's where we're leaving it. And if anybody else, thank you, Lux, for putting that up. If anybody else wants to continue on this Plowboy stuff, you're grounded. That's it. I swear to Glob, you're grounded immediately.
So, like, I can't record the song? Like, I can't sing the song?
If you want to be
and
grounded.
Record it and put it
I'm telling
on, TikTok or something? I can't. Are you sure that and then tag you? I can't do that.
I'm telling the chat right now.
I can't.
Grounded. Immediately. This is your only warning.
But you read it on the stage. How cool would it be if the next time you're doing a show, you could just go to video and it's me with a guitar singing that song?
I think you and I have different impressions of what the word cool means, is what I'm saying. Anyway, what a place to leave it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Fuzzy Logic, you're grounded. Immediately grounded. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to everybody except for Fuzzy Logic and that other person for being here. Thank you to Lux for producing. Thank you to Shannon for being a cool co-host and a cool friend. Thank you to all our callers, even the ones that suck. Thank you to all of our chatters, even the ones that suck, except for Fuzzy Logic and whoever the other person. Go to bed. Get grounded.
Bad time,
Have an awesome rest of your day and never stop learning. Bye.